Chapter 663. It was as if lightning had flashed across the sky, and everyone's minds were roaring at the same time. A young legend that only existed in word of mouth had appeared in front of them in real life. The impact was indescribable, and it made them feel slightly dizzy. It felt extremely unreal. It was as if a god had descended directly in front of the world. Xia Chuqing's little face froze, and she was so excited that she almost suffocated. She would never have thought that the person who saved her was the legendary son of God of the Jun family, who was invincible among the younger generation. No wonder. Xia Chuqing's heart throbbed, and she felt numb. How could an ordinary prodigy kill a great saint stage powerhouse? Only a legendary figure like Jun Xiaoyaro would have been able to pull it off. At the thought of being saved by such a young legend and being held in his arms, Xia Chuqing felt a little dizzy. Happiness came too suddenly. Looking at Jun Xiaoyao's handsome face, Xia Chuqing smiled even more charmingly. How could a little girl like her resist Jun Xiaoyao's charm? Not to mention that Jun Xiaoyaro was her savior. Even the shrewd Xia Bingyun, who didn't show her emotions on her face, trembled slightly at this moment. She guessed that the masked man's identity might be very high, and his background might be amazing. But she didn't expect it to be the son of God of the Jun family, whose name shook the ancient road. Even she, the eldest daughter of the Xia family, was far inferior to this kind of identity. Wealth and means were nothing in front of a big shot like Jun Xiaoyaro. It was no wonder that Jun Xiaoyaro didn't treat her with the same status. Because their identities were not on the same level. As for Feng Xiaotian, who had taken off Jun Xiaoyao's mask, he was completely dumbfounded at this moment, as if he had been petrified. He was completely stunned, and his head was dizzy, and he almost fainted on the ground. He also thought that the person under the mask might be an immortal descendant. Even so, he was not afraid, because he was the daoist of the Feng family, and his status was not low. However, Feng Xiaotian was completely dumbfounded as he looked at Jun Xiaoyaro, who wore an indifferent expression on his face. Mother **K, even if you pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger, you can't do this. You'll get a heart attack from the shock. Jun Xiaoyaro glanced at Feng Xiaotian, who was almost scared out of his wits, and said with a playful tone, "Now that you've seen it, are you satisfied?" With a thud, Feng Xiaotian's legs actually went soft, directly kneeling on the ground. Who would have thought that the dignified daoist of the Feng clan would kneel down in fear? Jun family's son of God, I. Feng Xiaotian's voice was trembling. Jun Xiaoyao's reputation was accompanied by his decisiveness in killing. When Feng Xiaotian thought about how he had treated Jun Xiaoyao and how he had even thought about flirting with Jun Xiaoyao's woman, he felt that he was going to lose his man. He was merely a daoist of the Wind clan. In front of Jun Xiaoyao, he was but an ant that could be easily killed. The Wind clan did not even dare to pursue the matter. Instead, they might even have to apologize to Jun Xiaoyao. Beside Jun Xiaoyao, Yang Rumeng, who was massaging his shoulders, giggled. She looked at Feng Xiaotian, who was kneeling on the ground, with interest. Feng Xiaotian had wanted to hit on her before, but in the end, he was refused the door. Fortunately, Feng Xiaotian did not make any excessive moves at that time. Otherwise, he would have been dead long ago. How could he have lived until now? I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please forgive me, son of God. Feng Xiaotian kowtowed, making a thumping sound. In front of Xia Bingyun, he was kowtowing to another man, kneeling, and begging for mercy. His image could be considered completely ruined. But now, he might not even be alive. Beauties and what not had long been thrown to the back of his mind. Jun Xiaoyao's expression was indifferent. This kind of ant was not in his eyes at all. Fortunately, Feng Xiaotian was not stupid. Although he had some opinions about him before, he did not provoke him mindlessly. Otherwise, how could he have lived until now? Wind clan. Wind of the great void. Jun Xiaoyao thought for a while. Son of God, please spare the life of our path chosen. The quasi-supreme of the Wind clan also pulled a long face and cupped his hands slightly to Jun Xiaoyao. Although Feng Xiaotian was unbearable, he was still a path chosen of the Wind clan. If he died in public, it would not be good for the Wind clan's reputation. Jun Xiaoyao did not answer. He turned to look at Xia Bingyun and said indifferently, "Now, is this son of God qualified to invite Miss Xia for a private chat?" Hearing this, Xia Bingyun hurriedly bowed and said, "Bingyun is afraid. It is Bingyun's honor to be able to have a long talk with the Son of God." Bingyun is more than happy. Seeing Xia Bingyun's attitude change in an instant, everyone present sighed. Although Xia Bingyun was also quite polite to Jun Xiaoyao, who was wearing a mask, before, she still had some pride. But in the end, there were still some who were proud of their status and did not show any humble attitude. But now, after Jun Xiaoyao's identity was revealed, this famous beauty of the Xia clan showed a humble and flattering attitude. It had to be said that status was something that could not be shaken off no matter what class. Jun Xiaoyao got up, and Xia Bingyun followed closely behind like a maid. It was not until the two of them entered the inner chamber that all kinds of noises rose again. "Oh my God, it's really the son of God of the Jun clan. This is the first time I've seen him so close. I had some guesses before, but I wasn't sure. Now it seems that if it's the son of God of the Jun clan, it's reasonable to deal with an injured great saint. But looking at it up close, the son of God is really handsome. No wonder so many fairies and goddesses are infatuated with him. I heard that several famous goddesses on the ancient road, such as Jiang Xingyi and Jiang Luoli, have an ambiguous relationship with the son of God of the Jun clan. So what? It's a waste of a young man if he's not romantic. If I have the looks, status, and strength of the son of God, I'll definitely have a harem of 3,000 beauties. I'll play with one every day for 10 years. Some cultivators fantasized. TSK, do you think the Son of God is a vulgar person like you? He must be a devoted person who takes care of his partner. A female cultivator spat and retorted. On the Xia clan's side, the elders were a little speechless. Previously, they wanted to recruit Jun Xiaoyao as their son-in-law. Now it seemed that this idea was really laughable. Not to mention one Xia clan, even 10 Xia clans combined would not be able to do it. If the young lady can establish a relationship with the Son of God, it will be of great significance to the Xia clan, an elder of the Xia clan said with bright eyes. That's right, it's okay even if she becomes his concubine. This is a chance for the Xia clan to soar into the sky. Maybe we can use this opportunity to become the most powerful person in the business alliance of 10,000 clans and control the entire alliance. Some of the elders of the Xia clan had ambitions in their hearts. The eyes of the supreme being of the Xia clan also surged with light. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If they did not seize it, the Xia clan would definitely regret it for the rest of their lives. Bingyun, you must seize this opportunity. The supreme being of the Xia clan clenched his fists slightly and murmured in his heart. Chapter 664. In the quiet inner room, there were only Jun Xiaoyao and Xia Bingyun. Jun Xiaoyao sized up Xia Bingyun. Her black hair was as black as ink, tied into an elegant and dignified bun. Her skin was as white as jade, glowing with brilliance. Her facial features were exquisite and beautiful, and her eyebrows were moving. Her figure was not exaggerated, but her curves were extremely soft and beautiful, showing the elegance of a woman. Her whole person exuded an elegant and intellectual beauty. Sensing Jun Xiaoyao's gaze, Xia Bingyun had a rare trace of nervousness. She had always been the one to see through others, but this time, she felt that Jun Xiaoyao had seen through her. In front of Jun Xiaoyao, everything about her seemed to be exposed. What are you nervous about? This son of God is not a demon. Are you afraid that I will eat you? Jun Xiaoyao chuckled and sat down. Hearing this, Xia Bingyun's face flushed red. Why did these words sound a little flirtatious? It's my first time seeing the legendary Son of God. Bingyun can't help but be nervous, Xia Bingyun said. No need. Do you know what I want from you? Jun Xiaoyao tapped his knuckles on the armrest of the chair and said lightly. Bingyun doesn't know, Xia Bingyun said truthfully. Because of cornucopia, she had a lot of treasures on her. However, when she thought of the identity of the Son of God of the Jun family, she felt that there shouldn't be many things on her that could catch Jun Xiaoyao's eye. Could it be? Xia Bingyun suddenly thought of something. That was a secret that only she knew. Even her parents and sister Xia Chuqing didn't know. What this son of God wants is one of the 9 great heavenly books on you, the treasure book. When these words fell, Xia Bingyun's delicate body trembled, and her mind was roaring. She didn't expect that her biggest secret would be discovered by Jun Xiaoyaro so easily. Of course, Xia Bingyun didn't know that Jun Xiaoyaro already had the physical book and the space book. He could use these 2 books to sense the treasured book on Xia Bingyun. As for the other heavenly bookmasters, it was impossible for them to sense Jun Xiaoyaro. This was because if Jun Xiaoyaro did not want to reveal it, no one would be able to see through him. How did Lord Son of God find out? Xia Bingyun was very curious. The treasured book was her greatest secret, and she had never revealed it to anyone. Because I'm also a heavenly bookmaster, Jun Xiaoyaro said straightforwardly. I see. Xia Bingyun nodded slightly. Although she did not know how Jun Xiaoyaro was able to sense her heavenly book through his heavenly book, she did not know. However, this was Jun Xiaoyao's own method, so she naturally couldn't get to the bottom of it. Then how did the Son of God know that Bingyun controlled one of the 9 great heavenly tomes? Xia Bingyun continued to ask. Do you think the Imperial Weapon Treasure Bowl can be picked up so easily? Jun Xiaoyaro smiled. If this was luck, then his luck was simply too good. As expected, I can't hide it from Lord Son of God. Indeed, Bingyun controlled the treasured book. The secret was completely exposed, and Xia Bingyun could not hide anything. She briefly explained the matter. It turned out that she had obtained half of the treasured book when she was very young. Later, she used the other half of the treasured book in her hand to find the Imperial Weapon Treasure Bowl. And in the treasure bowl, there was the other half of the treasured book. The 9 great heavenly books could be considered as spiritual treasures of heaven and earth. They would search for their masters and make them the heavenly bookmaster. Xia Bingyun was the heavenly bookmaster. Now, this Son of God wants this extremely precious treasured book. Will you hand it over? Jun Xiaoyaro looked at Xia Bingyun and asked. He had long made up his mind to collect all 9 great heavenly books. Jun Xiaoyaro vaguely felt that there was a big secret behind the 9 great heavenly books. There was even a rumor that if one could collect all 9 great heavenly books, one would be able to glimpse a vague path to becoming an immortal. Of course, rumors were just rumors. After all, no one had collected all 9 great heavenly books. It could be said that the 9 great heavenly books were extremely precious treasures that could not be measured by any value. For someone like Xia Bingyun who came from a business family and was best at measuring value, she should not be willing to hand it over. However, whether she handed it over or not was Xia Bingyun's business. Jun Xiaoyaro would definitely get it. If the soft approach did not work, then he would use the hard approach. However, what surprised Jun Xiaoyaro was that Xia Bingyun only hesitated for a moment before her jade-like finger touched the spatial ring on her finger. A scroll made of gold leaf-like material appeared. Xia Bingyun held the scroll in her hand and presented it with both hands. The treasured book is here. Oh! Jun Xiaoyao's eyes flashed with surprise. He took the scroll and read it for a bit before coming to a conclusion. This was the real treasured book and not a fake. This kind of decisiveness made Jun Xiaoyaro see Xia Bingyun in a new light. You're handing over such a precious thing just like that? Jun Xiaoyaro said with interest. He thought that he would need to use some brute force. Son of God saved my sister. Bingyun is very grateful. It's just a treasured book. If the Son of God wants it, I will naturally give it to you. Xia Bingyun did not show a trace of reluctance. It seems that you should have more or less comprehended this treasured book, Jun Xiaoyaro said with a smile. After all, Xia Bingyun had obtained half of the treasured book since she was young. No matter how profound the treasured book was, Xia Bingyun should have comprehended it. Xia Bingyun also admitted it and nodded slightly. The reason why she decisively handed over the treasured book, apart from wanting to please Jun Xiaoyaro, was indeed that she had almost comprehended some of the essence. Of course, with Xia Bingyun's talent, it was difficult to completely comprehend all of the essence. No matter what the reason is, you have indeed surprised this Son of God. As Jun Xiaoyaro spoke, he unceremoniously put the treasured book into his spatial artifact. At this point, Jun Xiaoyaro had obtained 3 of the 9 great heavenly tomes. The treasured book of the 9 great heavenly tomes controlled the way of tools and also had the ability to refine tools. When cultivated to the extreme, one could control any divine weapon, even imperial weapons, and could even seize the other party's weapon. In addition, the treasured book also had the ability to sense and search for all kinds of treasures and ores. This was also why Xia Bingyun could be called a little rich woman. In addition to the help of the treasure basin, the treasured book also helped Xia Bingyun find a lot of treasures. It is Bingyun's honor to be able to do something for the Son of God, Xia Bingyun said with a smile. She was a strong woman with extraordinary means and was smooth and slick in dealing with people. Since there was a chance to climb up to Zhun Xiaoyao's high branch, she naturally wouldn't let it go easily. In that case, are you willing to be loyal to this Son of God? Zhun Xiaoyao asked. These words stunned Xia Bingyun for a moment. Then, there was a flash of surprise in her beautiful eyes. With her intelligence, how could she not know what these words meant? In fact, just now, Xia Bingyun had been thinking in her heart about how to establish a relationship with Zhun Xiaoyao. She wanted to suggest it, but she was afraid that it would backfire and make Zhun Xiaoyao unhappy. Then, she would mess it up. Now that Zhun Xiaoyao took the initiative to suggest it, it was undoubtedly giving her a chance. Of course, Bingyun is willing. Xia Bingyun agreed without hesitation. Zhun Xiaoyao's eyes were deep as he said, "You have to think carefully. I don't just want you, I want the entire Xia clan to join my monarch imperial court. This also means that everything of the Xia clan, to a certain extent, will belong to the monarch imperial court, including those resources, imperial weapons, and treasure basin." After these words, the joy on Xia Bingyun's face instantly froze. She thought that Zhun Xiaoyao wanted to keep her by his side alone. In the end, she found out that Zhun Xiaoyao wanted the entire Xia clan. Moreover, he wanted all the resources and treasures, including the imperial weapons and treasure basin. This was simply an exorbitant demand. He wanted to take everything of the Xia clan. Chapter 665. If it were any other heaven's pride, they would have dared to say such a thing. No matter how well-mannered Xia Bingyun was, she would still rebuke them coldly. But the one who said this was the revered Son of God of the Zhun family. No matter how dissatisfied Xia Bingyun was, she could only keep it in her heart. On the surface, she did not even dare to show a trace of anger or dissatisfaction, for fear of upsetting Zhun Xiaoyao. Lord Son of God, this is not something that I can decide on my own. Xia Bingyun lowered her eyes, looking a little aggrieved. She was born extremely beautiful, and her slightly aggrieved demeanor at this moment was even more moving. Zhun Xiaoyao smiled faintly. This kind of trick was useless against him. Miss Xia, do you think that I, the Son of God, am too overbearing? How would I dare to think so? Xia Bingyun replied. What if I say that I can help the Xia family control the entire business alliance of 10,000 clans? Zhun Xiaoyao said. What? Xia Bingyun's delicate body suddenly trembled, and her beautiful eyes were filled with surprise. The business alliance of 10,000 clans was an extremely large business organization, and the interests of all parties were intertwined. The human race, the demon race, the Archean royalty, and the rights of all the major races were intertwined, and it was simply a mess. There had never been a giant who had the ability to completely control the entire business alliance of 10,000 clans. Even the extremely wealthy Xia family was only one of the most influential families in the world. Don't you think that it's a bit strange that your sister was kidnapped by the people of the sinful pit? Zhun Xiaoyao said patiently. Xia Bingyun also nodded. She had been puzzled before. Now it seemed that someone in the business alliance of 10,000 clans disliked or was jealous of the Xia family. After all, the Xia family now controlled many business routes and assets of the business alliance of 10,000 clans, and even began to threaten some of the other giants. With the help of the Son of God, it will not be difficult for the Xia family to control the entire business alliance of 10,000 clans, Zhun Xiaoyao said. He was not boasting, but he really had the ability to do so. There was also a touch of excitement in Xia Bingyun's beautiful eyes. This had always been the Xia family's dream. With the help of Zhun Xiaoyao, this dream might become a reality. No, it should be possible to turn it into reality. The Xia clan is willing to honor the Son of God. Xia Bingyun said firmly. Right now, she did indeed have the right to speak on behalf of the Xia family. Good. Zhang Xiaoyaro was very satisfied. Although his initial target was the Xia family, he now felt that directly taking control of the business alliance of 10,000 tribes was the best choice. The business alliance of 10,000 tribes would provide an endless supply of resources to the monarch dynasty. And the Xia family was Zhang Xiaoyao's chess piece to control the business alliance of 10,000 tribes. Wait for me to complete the ancient ultimate road. I'll find someone to make the necessary arrangements. You guys just have to wait patiently, Zhang Xiaoyaro said. Thank you, son of God. Xia Bingyun's beautiful eyes sparkled. She knew that one word from Zhang Xiaoyaro could change the fate of the entire Xia family. We'll be family from now on. You don't have to be like this, Zhang Xiaoyaro said and waved his hand. 5 dazzling seals of Dao validation floated in the void. This is. Xia Bingyun was stunned again and was in disbelief. A total of 5 seals of Dao validation. One had to know that on the ancient ultimate road, as long as 1 or 2 seals of Dao validation were integrated, they could become a giant or a genius. Geniuses who had integrated 5 seals of Dao validation were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. I'm not stingy with my family. Take it, Zhang Xiaoyaro said. Xia Bingyun took a deep breath and couldn't hide her excitement. She accepted it. This kind of thing couldn't be bought even if she had money. Xia Bingyun's beautiful eyes suddenly revealed a hint of determination. She said, Sir, please plant a slave seal on me. Since Zhang Xiaoyaro was so generous, she naturally had to return the favor. And loyalty was the best gift. Zhang Xiaoyaro raised his eyebrows and smiled. He liked to deal with smart people. Xia Bingyun was undoubtedly very smart. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to run such a big business family. That won't be necessary. I believe that you're a smart woman. You won't do something like betrayal. Zhang Xiaoyaro shook his head lightly. He wasn't so bad that he couldn't even control a woman. The more Zhang Xiaoyaro was like this, the more Xia Bingyun respected him. She realized that her thoughts and calculations were on a completely different level compared to Zhang Xiaoyao's. Would a god care about a mortal's little schemes and calculations? Not at all. After the matter was settled, the atmosphere also relaxed. Xia Bingyun was also very capable. After confirming that she had become Zhang Xiaoyao's woman, she began to think about the next plan. By the way, does your Xia family have the living soil of the 9 heavens, the rootless water, the eternal divine fire, and the wind of the great void? Zhang Xiaoyaro asked. Xia Bingyun said, these 4 things are very rare. My Xia family doesn't have them, but you're lucky. We don't have them, but someone else does. Sure enough, it's that Feng Xiaotian. Zhang Xiaoyaro said. Feng Xiaotian comes from the wind family. The wind family should have the wind of the great void. The stone family has the living soil of the 9 heavens, the rain family has the rootless water, and the yang family has the eternal divine fire, Xia Bingyun said. The wind, rain, stone, and yang families were all elemental races. Their people were born with an innate affinity with certain elements and could walk an extreme path. Don't underestimate these elemental races. A long time ago, these races also had some powerhouses whose names shook the heavens, such as the water god, the fire god, and so on. It's simple. When the time comes, just ask them to pay tribute, Zhang Xiaoyaro said leisurely. Of course. Even if it's to form a good relationship with you, they will agree. Xia Bingyun pursed her lips and smiled. She was now thinking for Zhang Xiaoyaro. By the way, are you collecting these 4 things to cultivate the path of world creation? Xia Bingyun's eyes flickered. You are very smart. So, Zhang Xiaoyaro said. Hearing Zhang Xiaoyao's praise, Xia Bingyun's jade face revealed a sweet smile. Sir, there was news that the boat of fortune seemed to have appeared in the inner area of the chaotic astral ocean. Rumor has it that the boat of fortune was an imitation of the mythical world crossing arc. It contains a complete small world with many resources, divine weapons, treasures, elixirs of immortality, and so on. There is even a complete origin of world creation left in it. It might be helpful for your cultivation, Xia Bingyun said. This news made Zhun Xiaoyao's eyes light up. He was now thinking about cultivating his inner universe. A complete small world's origin of world creation would undoubtedly be a great reference and help for him. Zhun Xiaoyao could even refine the origin of world creation and accelerate the evolution of his inner universe. When the time came, he would get the living soil of the 9 heavens and other natural wonders from the 4 elemental races. His inner universe would definitely improve and his strength would increase greatly. By the way, do you know the origin of the ancient powerhouse who built the boat of fortune? Zhun Xiaoyao asked. The higher the cultivation of the ancient powerhouse, the more profound the origin of world creation left behind, and the more worthy it was for him to explore. It seems to be an ancient Supreme Xian Ting, Xia Bingyun said. Supreme Xian Ting. Zhun Xiaoyao's eyes revealed a thoughtful and profound look. Chapter 666. To be honest, if there were any factions that could make Zhun Xiaoyao pay a little attention to them, there were probably only a few top immortal factions with inheritances as old as the Zhun family. The Supreme Xian Ting was undoubtedly the one with the deepest heritage. Even though the Supreme Xian Ting that once ruled the 9 heavens immortal realm had completely collapsed. As the former overlord of the immortal realm, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. The surviving powers were all stronger than the most flourishing undying powers. Until now, Zhun Xiaoyao had not encountered any young experts of the Supreme Xian Ting. However, Zhun Xiaoyao did not let his guard down. He knew that the Zhun family's former goal was to replace the Supreme Xian Ting and rule the immortal realm. This was the Zhun family's dream. Zhun Xiaoyao did not mind fulfilling this wish for his family. And if he wanted to fulfill this wish, the Supreme Immortal Court was the biggest obstacle. Even though the Supreme Xian Ting had collapsed and split into several factions, they still had the ambition to return to the peak. Next, you have to pay close attention to the Boat of Fortune's movements, Zhun Xiaoyao said. Yes. Xia Bingyun nodded. Then, the two of them walked out. In the outer hall, everyone was waiting. Especially the elders of the Xia family, they were extremely nervous, and their palms were sweating. Even the supreme being of the Xia family felt a little emotional at this moment. Although the Xia family is prosperous now, we are also feared by many giants of the business alliance of 10,000 tribes. Without external help, it will be difficult for us to reach a new level. The supreme being of the Xia family murmured in his heart. If the Xia family wanted to reach a higher level, they had to rely on a stronger force. And Zhun Xiaoyao happened to be this force. As for Feng Xiaotian, he was still kneeling on the ground, not daring to get up at all. His face was gloomy, and his eyes were filled with deep regret. He swore that if he could survive this time, he would never touch a woman again. Looking at Feng Xiaotian, who was kneeling on the ground, not daring to get up, everyone present sighed deeply. The dignified daoist of the Feng family was like a criminal waiting to be judged at this moment. It was a pity. This also allowed everyone to understand the power and status of the Zhun family's son of God. This is really troublesome. The quasi-supreme being of the Feng family rubbed his temples, feeling very troubled. It had been rumored that the divine child of the Zhun family was very decisive, and that anyone who offended him would not have a good ending. Just as everyone's thoughts, Zhun Xiaoyao and Xia Bingyun finally came out. Everyone was keenly aware of this. Xia Bingyun was actually walking behind Zhun Xiaoyao, as if she was his servant. The way she looked at Zhun Xiaoyao from time to time was filled with deep reverence and admiration, sparkling in her eyes. Seeing this scene in the Zhun Xia family was the most of Zhun Xian this fair, rich and pretty much no matter how much of a lot of the Xian miss the Xian the of attention Feng of Xian a lot of Xian a little bit close as well of Xian s Xia Bingyun might not be interested in other male geniuses. However, when it came to Zhun Xiaoyao, what she needed to consider was whether or not Zhun Xiaoyao was interested in her. Obviously, Xia Bingyun had been chosen. Joy flashed in the eyes of the Xia family's supreme being and the elders when they saw this scene. Xia Bingyun did not disappoint them. In contrast to the happy Xia family, the people of the Feng family were a little nervous. Feng Xiaotian kept kowtowing, begging for forgiveness. Get up. You should be glad that you didn't cross the line, Zhun Xiaoyao said lightly. Although Feng Xiaotian did not like him before, he did not ridicule or attack him brainlessly. Otherwise, he would have been dead by then. Hearing this, Feng Xiaotian could not believe his ears. Zhang Xiaoyaro was so open-minded and magnanimous. He even cupped his hands and bowed. "Thank you, Son of God, for sparing my life." Son of God is indeed a magnanimous person. But this time, it was indeed Xiaotian who went against the Son of God. If the Son of God has any needs, the Feng family will definitely satisfy the Son of God. The quasi-supreme being of the Feng family was also a shrewd person, and he chuckled. This time, the Feng family might have a chance to turn a crisis into an opportunity and take the opportunity to establish a relationship with the Zhang family. The rest of you can leave for now." Zhang Xiaoyaro waved his hand. "Yes, Son of God, we will leave." The rest of the people also left tactfully. Only Zhang Xiaoyaro, Yang Rumeng, Taiyin Jade Hair, Xia Bingyun, Xia Chuqing, the Xia family's supreme being, and a few elders of the Xia family were left. There was also Feng Xiaotian and the quasi-supreme being of the Feng family. "The Feng family has the wind of the great void." Zhang Xiaoyaro went straight to the point. Hearing this, the quasi-supreme being of the Feng family revealed a strange look. This was not a secret, and many people knew about it. However, the wind of the great void was one of the most precious things of the Feng family, and it was impossible for outsiders to covet it. But the one who spoke was Zhang Xiaoyaro. The quasi-supreme being of the Feng family was not a fool. Although the wind of the great void was precious, it was not completely impossible to give it away. If it was to befriend Zhang Xiaoyaro, it was simply worth it. "If the Son of God needs it, I will take it from the family later." The quasi-supreme being of the Feng family was very tactful. Yes, in addition, the Feng family should also be in contact with the Stone family, Rain family, Fire family, and other elemental races, Zhang Xiaoyaro said. Indeed, the quasi-supreme being of the Feng family said. "In that case, this Son of God also needs the living soil of the 9 heavens, the rootless water, and the undying divine fire. Pass on this Son of God's words. If they are willing to hand over a part of it to me, this Son of God will not treat them unfairly." Zhang Xiaoyaro waved his hand. "I will definitely pass on the message. It is their honor to be able to help the Son of God." The quasi-supreme being of the Feng family smiled. Feng Xiaotian heaved a sigh of relief. He knew that he had managed to keep his life. "Thank you for your forgiveness, Son of God. Xiaotian is willing to follow the Son of God and do my best." Feng Xiaotian hurriedly expressed his loyalty. He was afraid that Zhang Xiaoyaro would think that he was still holding a grudge. "No need." Zhang Xiaoyaro shook his head. His place wasn't a waste shelter. He would only take a fancy to those that were valuable. Feng Xiaotian's eyes were filled with disappointment, but he did not dare to force it. After that, the people of the Feng family thanked him again and then left. Zhang Xiaoyaro turned to Xia Bingyun and said, "Tell the Xia family about the result of our discussion." "Yes." Xia Bingyun nodded and then told the supreme being of the Xia family and the elders about joining the monarch hall. At first, when they heard that everything of the Xia family belonged to the monarch hall, the elders could not help but change their expressions. But when they heard that Zhang Xiaoyaro would help the Xia family and take control of the entire business alliance of 10,000 clans, everyone in the Xia family was overjoyed. Compared to what they had to pay, the Xia family received more. Therefore, it went smoothly. The entire Xia family was willing to join the monarch hall. In the following days, Zhang Xiaoyaro had been staying in the gigantic Crescent City. On one hand, he was waiting for the 4 elemental races to send treasures to him. On the other hand, he was waiting for the boat of fortune to appear. In addition, the Taiyin Jade Hair also told Zhang Xiaoyaro that Yu Chanhuan was in the chaotic astral ocean. Zhang Xiaoyaro was not in a hurry to look for her. He felt that Yu Chanhuan would not miss the opportunity to find the boat of fortune. If that was the case, they would naturally meet when the time came. As Zhang Xiaoyao's identity was revealed, the entire chaotic astral ocean was stirred up. Disregarding other things, just the killing of the 5th sinner of the great sage realm was enough to shock everyone. Although the 5th sinner was injured, he was definitely not someone a sage could deal with. It could only be said that Zhun Xiaoyao's strength could not be measured by his realm. Many people thought that with Zhun Xiaoyao's true strength, even the super outlawed Skyprides might not be a match for him. Chapter 667. In just over 10 days, people from the Wind, Rain, Stone, and Yang clans all appeared in Titanic Crescent City. Their speed and efficiency left everyone speechless. What did this mean? It meant that in the hearts of the 4 elemental races, Zhun Xiaoyao's matter could not be neglected. What was even more surprising was that those who came to Titanic Crescent City were the top geniuses of each race, the Forbidden Taoists. That's Feng Shuran, the #1 Daoist of the Wind clan. He actually came to Titanic Crescent City in person. Is he trying to avenge Feng Xiaotian? Many cultivators in Titanic Crescent City saw a handsome young man in blue hurrying toward the restaurant where Zhun Xiaoyao was. Naturally, they did not know that Feng Shuran came to deliver the wind of the Great Void to Zhun Xiaoyao. They thought that he was here to avenge Feng Xiaoyao. Next, the Stone clan also arrived, led by a strong young man with thick eyebrows and big eyes. It's Shi Hong, the Daoist of the Stone clan. Rumor has it that he was born with the Earth spiritual body and can absorb the power of the Earth for his own use. The appearance of the Stone clan's Forbidden Daoist attracted even more attention. What was even more shocking was that Shi Hong was also hurrying towards the tavern where Zhun Xiaoyao was. This was beyond everyone's expectations. What's going on? Feng Shuran might be trying to avenge Feng Xiaotian, but the Stone clan has no grudge against the son of God of the Zhun family. Everyone was confused. They were completely unaware of the deal between Zhun Xiaoyao and the 4 elemental races. Then, the Forbidden Daoist of the Yang clan, Yang Yi, also arrived. He had short red hair and different flames surged in his eyes. Finally, a woman in a light blue dress, holding an oil paper umbrella, arrived in Titanic Crescent City with a group of people. The woman's features were picturesque, and her skin was as white as snow. It was so tender that it seemed like water could be squeezed out of it. When she walked in the void, the misty rain around her made it seem like a dream. However, no one dared to underestimate this woman. She was the Forbidden Daoist of the Rain clan, Yu Baixian. Feng Shuran, Shi Hong, Yang Yi, Yu Baixian. The Forbidden Taoists of the 4 elemental races all appeared in Titanic Crescent City and rushed toward the pavilion where Zhun Xiaoyao was. This undoubtedly caused another uproar. Many people even suspected that Zhun Xiaoyao was so strong that the forbidden path chosen of the 4 elemental races needed to join forces in order to fight him. A large group of cultivators followed the 4 path chosen of the taboo and arrived outside the pavilion where Zhun Xiaoyao was. They were looking forward to an exciting battle between geniuses. However, what happened next left everyone dumbfounded. The Wind clan's Feng Shuran cupped his hands towards the pavilion and said, "I am Feng Shuran of the Wind clan. I have come to pay my respects to the Son of God." Shi Hong of the Stone clan greets the Son of God. Yang Yi of the Yang clan greets the Son of God. Rain clan's Yu Baixian greets the Son of God. Taboo Dao children of the 4 elemental races were rather famous throughout the entire ancient road. At this moment, they cupped their hands and bowed towards the pavilion Zhun Xiaoyao was in, their tone sincere. It was like a subject meeting a supreme king. Countless gasps could be heard from all directions. However, when they thought of Zhun Xiaoyao's reputation, it was understandable that they would do something like that. "Come in." Xia Bingyun appeared and welcomed them in. As expected, seeing Xia Bingyun, the gazes of Feng Shuran and the others dimmed. That prideful daughter of the Xia family, who had an extraordinary reputation, actually became Zhun Xiaoyao's maid. The 4 entered the pavilion with slightly nervous hearts. They saw the figure sitting on the main seat, his entire body shrouded in a mist of immortal light. The Forbidden Dao children of the 4 elemental races only felt an incomparably powerful pressure pressing down on their hearts. This was not deliberately done by Zhun Xiaoyao, but a natural aura. Is this the Son of God of the Zhun clan? He really lives up to his reputation. Shi Hong, Yang Yi, and the others were trembling from the bottom of their hearts. Facing such a godly figure, even as Forbidden Dao children, they could not raise any fighting spirit in their hearts. Yu Baixian's eyes flashed. If she could follow Zhun Xiaoyao like Xia Bingyun, The benefits would be needless to say. However, this was just wishful thinking. Not everyone was qualified to be by Zheng Xiaoyao's side. Son of God, my foolish clan brother offended you before, but you were magnanimous and let him go. Feng Shuran cupped his hands and smiled. Let's not talk about the past. Where's the item? Zheng Xiaoyao went straight to the point. Hearing this, Feng Shuran respectfully handed over the green gourd. From the gourd, the sound of wind and thunder could be vaguely heard, as if it was the initial wind that blew over the earth when the world was first created. Zheng Xiaoyao took the gourd but did not verify it. He knew that the Feng clan would not be so foolish as to deceive him with a fake item. Son of God, this is my clan's living soil of the 9 heavens. Shihong of the Shi clan also handed over an earth-yellow cauldron. The soil within was shining brilliantly, like grains of golden sand, and it was also circulating with dense 5-colored qi. This was the soil that was born when the world was first created, and was extremely precious. Even if it was an ordinary spiritual medicine, if planted, it would not be long before it became a sacred medicine and began to evolve. Son of God, my clan's eternal divine flame seed is presented. Yang clan's Dao Sun Yang Yi handed over a pill cauldron. Zheng Xiaoyao was able to sense an extremely scorching flame burning within. It was as if an eternal flame was burning within. The Yang clan would not give him the true eternal divine flame seed, that was the foundation of the Yang clan. Fortunately, the inextinguishable divine flame seed that was separated from the main flame had the same effect. Finally, Yu Baixian stepped forward and took out a transparent jade bottle. Her beautiful eyes glowed faintly as she said softly, Lord Son of God, my clan's rootless water is here. Yu Baixian's voice was as gentle as water, as if she was talking to her lover. This caused Yang Rumeng, Xia Bingyun, and the other girls to raise their eyebrows slightly. It was yet another woman who harbored ill intentions toward Zheng Xiaoyao. Zheng Xiaoyao did not care about Yu Baixian at all. He took the jade bottle and discovered that the water within was actually floating in the air. Rootless water did not fall to the ground, but floated like cotton. It was the most magical thing. At this point, Zheng Xiaoyao had effortlessly collected the 4 natural oddities and could begin the initial transformation of the inner universe. Very good, you 4 clans have worked hard. Zheng Xiaoyao revealed a faint smile. You're welcome. Feng Shuran and the other 3 clasped their hands, the stone in their hearts finally lifted. After that, Zheng Xiaoyao prepared to enter a short period of seclusion. Bingyun, remember to pay attention to the boat of destiny. Zheng Xiaoyao did not forget to remind her. Don't worry, if there's any news, we'll head over immediately. When the time comes, we'll set up a teleportation array near the boat of destiny and you can come over directly. Xia Bingyun had already thought of everything. That's good. Zheng Xiaoyao said. After Zheng Xiaoyao went into seclusion, Feng Shuran and the other 3 did not leave and temporarily settled down in Titanic City. They even talked to Xia Bingyun to strengthen the cooperation between the 4 clans and the Xia family. Everyone knew that the Xia family was riding on Zheng Xiaoyao's coattails and was about to soar. Just as the entire Titanic City was in an uproar because of Zheng Xiaoyao's matter. In the inner district of the chaotic astral ocean, danger lurked everywhere. A group of bloodthirsty mercenaries were searching for all kinds of opportunities. In the chaotic astral ocean, there was no lack of people who risked their lives to enter the inner district. As long as they could find an opportunity, it would be enough for them to eat for half their lives. Boss, you heard the news that a rare treasure has appeared in this area. Is it true? A mercenary asked. It should be true. The mercenary leader said. Mother **K, if we take a risk, we might be able to soar. At this moment, they suddenly heard a rumbling sound in their ears. It was the sound of something huge moving. What's that? Everyone looked over and was shocked to discover that an incomparably huge black shadow was cruising in the sea of stars from time to time in the distance. That pitch-black shadow was like a giant whale or an adult star swallowing ancient beast. It was incomparably majestic. Many big stars were like grains of sand next to it. Even the ancient life star was like a ball next to it. An ancient desolate aura filled the air. Vaguely, they seemed to hear the sound of gods and Buddhas chanting to save the world. The mercenary leader could not help but take a deep breath. His scalp went numb as he said in horror, "Is that the boat of destiny?" Chapter 668. A few days later, an explosive news spread throughout the entire vast chaotic astral ocean. The boat of fortune had appeared in the inner area of the chaotic astral ocean. This news was undoubtedly like a huge rock falling into the sea, causing waves in the chaotic astral ocean. The boat of fortune was one of the famous opportunities on the ancient road. In the past many epochs, it had only appeared a few times. The boat of fortune was similar to the bronze immortal palace in that it did not appear at a fixed location. It could appear anywhere on the ancient road. It was like a whale that swam in the void ocean, like a wandering ghost fortress. However, there were many treasures in this whale. After all, it was built by ancient experts to avoid a great calamity. There were various treasures and sacred medicine fields hidden in it. After this news spread, many young talents, ancient road geniuses, and cultivators from all over the chaotic astral ocean were eager to enter the inner area of the chaotic astral ocean. Of course, some people also considered the threat of the inner area of the chaotic astral ocean. There were some extremely dangerous places where even supreme beings could be killed if they entered. However, danger could not suppress the greed in people's hearts. The ancient road of ultimate was realistic and cruel. If they did not dare to take the opportunity when it appeared, what right did they have to reach the end of the ancient road? All the geniuses took action. In Titanic Crescent City, Xia Bingyun and the others gathered together. The location of the boat of fortune has been confirmed. We can rush over now and set up a teleportation formation there to make it convenient for young master to go there, said Xia Bingyun. All right, let's not delay. Let's get ready and set off immediately, said Yang Rumeng. At this time, Feng Shuran and the other 3 forbidden Taoists also appeared. The 4 of you. Xia Bingyun hesitated when she saw the 4 of them appear. During this time, the Xia family had also reached some cooperation with the 4 elemental races. Therefore, their relationship had become more harmonious. To be honest, we came to the chaotic astral ocean this time not only to deliver something to the Son of God, but also for the opportunity of the boat of fortune, said Shahong. The inner area of the chaotic astral ocean is dangerous. I think we can set off together so that we can look after each other, said Feng Shuran with a smile. That's not impossible. Xia Bingyun thought for a while and nodded slightly. On the way to the boat of fortune, they could take care of each other. Once they entered the boat of destiny, they would naturally search for their own treasures. Xia Bingyun cultivated with the treasured book, so it was very easy for her to find treasures. That's good. Feng Shuran and the others smiled. Yu Baixian probed, then will the Son of God move together? Hearing this, Xia Bingyun and Yang Rumeng also understood. It turned out that they wanted to use Jun Xiaoyao's power to intimidate others. At that time, they would be by Jun Xiaoyao's side, and others would not dare to provoke them. It had to be said that this was a good idea. The young master is in seclusion. I can't be sure about his matters, but he will probably go later, said Xia Bingyun. Yu Baixian's eyes flashed with disappointment. In truth, she had wanted to follow Jun Xiaoyaro to the boat of good fortune. Then, everyone made some preparations. Xia Bingyun, Yang Rumeng, Tai-Yin Jade Hair, some Xia family elders, and the 4 forbidden Dao children set off together. Xia Chuqing did not follow. Just as Xia Bingyun and the others were heading to the boat of destiny. Jun Xiaoyaro, on the other hand, was training in a secret room specially prepared by the Xia family. He refined the 4 natural oddities into his inner universe. The living soil of the 9 heavens, which was as bright as gold and glowed with 5-colored divine light, fell into the empty universe. Every grain of the living soil seemed to have transformed into a huge star. Rootless water fell into it, nourishing the earth. Water was the source of life. Without water, there would be no life. The eternal divine flame seed illuminated the dark inner universe, and a faint light appeared. It was like the first ray of light that opened up the chaos. There was also the wind of the great void. Between heaven and earth, there existed Qi. Qi was wind, and the rules of all things flowed like Qi. This was also why the fate of living beings was also called luck, and it was the Qi of movement. The profoundness of this was too profound. Even sovereigns could not easily comprehend it. This was related to the evolution of the universe, the changes of living beings, the rules of all things, and the order of heaven and earth. This was too big, and it was not something that ordinary people could grasp. Jun Xiaoyaro closed his eyes and looked at his inner universe. This was a very rare and magical experience. It would be of great help to his future growth, enlightenment, and breaking through to a higher realm. Earth, water, fire, and wind. Clear qi rises, turbid qi sinks, sun, moon, and stars, mountains, rivers, creation, Jun Xiaoyaro subconsciously murmured. This kind of visualization was very taxing on one's mind, and it required a lot of comprehension ability. Only a monster like Jun Xiaoyaro could continuously visualize and comprehend. As Jun Xiaoyaro comprehended and the changes in his inner universe, a mysterious qi flowed on his body, and the power of the universe's origin surged. The power of his inner universe also seemed to be boiling. At this moment, if someone could sit next to Jun Xiaoyaro, even if they only touched a bit of the mysterious qi and the power of origin, they would immediately become a top genius. Time passed by. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. During this month, countless cultivators in the chaotic astral ocean rushed to the inner area. Many sky prides from the ancient road also rushed to the inner area from other checkpoints. Of course, there were also many sky prides who died before they could even get close to the boat of destiny. After all, there were too many dangers in the inner area of the chaotic astral ocean. Even the outlawed sky prides did not dare to act recklessly. At this moment, in the inner area of the chaotic astral ocean, the incomparably vast boat of destiny, which was larger than many ancient life planets, lay horizontally in the starry sky. It stopped moving, like a still painting. The surface of the boat of destiny was dark. It was made of an unknown metal, but its sturdiness was not much weaker than the real divine gold. It was impossible for ordinary sky prides to force their way in. They could only wait for the boat of destiny to open the door. As time passed, more and more sky prides arrived at this place after experiencing countless difficulties and dangers. The boat of destiny hasn't opened yet, but it should only take a few days. Some of the sky prides said with anticipation. A few days later, Xia Bingyun and the others arrived as well. As soon as they arrived, Xia Bingyun ordered the Xia family to start building a teleportation formation to facilitate Jun Xiaoyao's arrival. Looks like we're early. We'll have to wait for a while, Feng Shuran said. I think I can sense it. It's very close. Tai-Yin Jade Hair suddenly muttered. What are you talking about? Yang Rumeng's eyes flickered. No, nothing. Tai-Yin Jade Hair shook her head. She knew that she and her lady still had a group of terrifying enemies. Unless Jun Xiaoyaro was here, it was better not to mention it and cause trouble. As time passed, some of the sky prides with powerful auras gradually appeared. In the distance, there was a flash of brilliance. A man in a shiny silver battle suit stepped on the air with his hands behind his back. He had an air of arrogance about him. That's the sky pride of the celestial Silkworm Valley. A sky pride saw him and took a deep breath. The celestial Silkworm Valley was definitely a top-notch Archean royalty on the ancient road of the ultimate path. This was because there was a celestial silkworm in their clan that was known as an invincible 9 transformations celestial silkworm. Although this person was not that 9 transformations celestial silkworm, his aura was definitely a forbidden powerhouse. Suddenly, the young sky pride of the celestial Silkworm Valley seemed to have sensed something as his gaze fell on Xia Bingyun's group. Finally, he fixed his gaze on Yang Rumeng. I feel an aura that's extremely compatible with me. You're a demon. What's your true form? The young sky pride of the celestial Silkworm Valley had a blazing light in his eyes. He was a 7 transformations celestial Silkworm Valley and had extraordinary talent. At this moment, he was looking at Yang Rumeng with a sense of aggression. He could feel that his celestial silkworm treasure body would definitely undergo a qualitative change if he could dual cultivate with that woman. Although she was a demon, her true form should be extremely compatible with his celestial silkworm race. Hearing this, Yang Rumeng's brows arched, and her beautiful face turned murderous. If Jun Xiaoyaro had asked this question, she wouldn't have minded at all. If others asked this question, she would have minded it very much. Not only that, but she would also be very angry and feel offended. Not to mention, the aggressive gaze of the celestial Silkworm Valley Sky Pride made her feel very disgusted. Chapter 669. What's that got to do with you? Yang Rumeng replied coldly. She had a graceful body, a slender waist, and long legs. Her face was flawless, her skin was fair, and her eyebrows were curved. Her red lips were bright and moist. However, her expression was as cold as an ice beauty. Xia Bingyun and the others glanced at Yang Rumeng. When she was with Jun Xiaoyaro, Yang Rumeng did not have the attitude of an icy beauty. Instead, she had the look of a smiling, petite woman. Obviously, only Jun Xiaoyaro could make Yang Rumeng reveal her feminine charm. As for this strange man in front of her, Yang Rumeng thought she had already restrained herself. She wanted to ask, "Who do you think you are? What right do you have to ask me what my true form is?" Seeing Yang Rumeng's calm expression, the young Sky Pride of the celestial Silkworm Valley became even more interested. He was dressed in a silver battle suit. His figure was tall and slender, and his hair was shiny. He had a handsome face. One could say that he had an extraordinary temperament just by standing there. It was eye-catching. "You might have heard of my name. I'm Yuan Kandaozi from the celestial Silkworm Valley." The Sky Pride of the celestial Silkworm Valley named Yuan Kandaozi said calmly. He did not deliberately show off, but his eyes were filled with condescension. The celestial Silkworm Valley was an extremely prosperous Archean royalty orthodoxy. During the primordial era, there was an invincible 9-transformation celestial silkworm emperor who made a name for himself in the 9 heavens immortal realm. In the current era of great battles, another 9-transformation celestial silkworm appeared in the celestial Silkworm Valley. He was known as the most powerful outlawed Sky Pride on the ancient road. He also had the potential to become an emperor. As for Yuan Kandaozi, although he was not as powerful, he was still a 7-transformation celestial silkworm. After going through 7 transformations, he was abnormally powerful. Ordinary outlawed Sky Prides were no match for him. "Your name? I've never heard of it. What about you?" Yang Rumeng asked coldly, then turned to ask Xia Bingyun and the others. "I only know that a 9-transformation celestial silkworm has appeared in celestial Silkworm Valley, but I've indeed never heard of Yuan Silkworm Daozi." Xia Bingyun shook her head. She knew that Yang Rumeng wanted to insult that person, but she had never heard of that name. After all, the world would only remember the first place, and very few would remember the second or third place. Everyone only knew of the 9 transformations celestial silkworm. "We've never heard of it either." Feng Shuran and the other Taoists also shook their heads. This caused Yuan Kandaozi's eyes to darken slightly. Many of the surrounding Sky Prides looked over with interest. Who would have thought that these two sides would clash? "It doesn't matter if you haven't heard of it. You will know how powerful I am in the future. Right now, I just want to know, what is your original body?" Yuan Kandao Child stared straight at Yang Rumeng. To be able to resonate with his divine silkworm treasured body, there must be something special about this woman. "I'll say it again. It has nothing to do with you." Yang Rumeng's beautiful eyes were filled with disgust. "Haha, in that case, I can only explore it myself." Yuan Kandao Child smiled, but the light in his eyes gradually sharpened. "Brother, perhaps you don't know who her husband is," Feng Shuran said from the side. The taboo Taoists looked at Yuan Kandao Child as if they were looking at an idiot. "What? She already has a Dao partner?" Yuan Kandao Child's eyes changed slightly. He had rushed all the way to the chaotic astral ocean for the opportunity on the boat of destiny, so he was not clear about what had happened in the chaotic astral ocean. "That's right. I already have a husband. Do you still want to pester me?" Yang Rumeng replied coldly. Perhaps Feng Xiaotian had told Feng Shuran and the others about this before, causing them to mistakenly think that Yang Rumeng was already Jun Xiaoyao's woman. Yang Rumeng did not want to expose them, and there was a playful smile on her lips at this moment. However, to everyone's surprise, Yuan Kandao Child actually smiled and said, "Isn't that better?" This made everyone's jaws drop. "What's the difference between you and Thief Cow?" "You. Yang Rumeng gritted her teeth. This guy made her sick to her stomach. The corners of Feng Shuran and the others' mouths twitched, and there was pity in their eyes. Yuan Kandao child must be out of his mind to want to snatch Jun Xiaoyao's woman. My husband is the son of God of the Jun family, Jun Xiaoyao. Yang Rumeng said directly. She did not know why, but when she said this, she blushed a little as if she had done something wrong, and she also felt a little excited. It was as if her dream had come true. What? The son of God of the Jun family. Even Yuan Kandao child's expression changed slightly when he heard this name, and he subconsciously looked around. In the ancient final road, perhaps only those prodigies who were not well informed had not heard of Jun Xiaoyao's name. Are you bluffing me? Yuan Kandao child did not believe it. It's true, Xia Bingyun and the others said. She actually knew that it was fake. But now, in order to make Yuan Kandao child wary, she could only say that. After all, the divine Silkworm Valley was not to be trifled with. Yuan Kandao child's expression was uncertain. After hearing Yang Rumeng's identity as his wife, he became even more excited. As it turned out, her husband turned out to be the famous and invincible Jun Xiaoyao who dominated the ancient road. This was troublesome. With his background in the divine Silkworm Valley, he did not have to be too afraid of Jun Xiaoyao. But unless the 9 transformations celestial silkworm of the divine Silkworm Valley came. Otherwise, it was simply wishful thinking for Yuan Kandao child to confront Jun Xiaoyao alone. Why? Not saying anything. Seeing Yuan Kandao child's uncertain expression, Yang Rumeng felt very happy. Who told you to be so arrogant? When you heard my husband's name, didn't you become a coward? Yang Rumeng felt a little sweet in her heart, but she did not notice that she had been completely immersed in the role of Jun Xiaoyao's wife. So what if he's the son of God of the Jun family? My divine Silkworm Valley's 9 transformations celestial silkworm is not weaker than him. Yuan Kandao child braced himself. Even if he lost the battle, he would not admit that he had withered. After that, Yuan Kandao child was very tactful and did not harass Yang Rumeng anymore. But he was unwilling to accept it. If he could get Yang Rumeng, his divine silkworm treasure body would undergo a qualitative change. Even if he could not reach the level of the 9 transformations celestial silkworm, he could at least go one step further and reach the 8 transformations. If there's a chance. Yuan Kandao child's eyes flickered. Time passed, and more prodigies came. The figures around the boat of destiny also became densely packed. At this moment, the Taiyin jade hair suddenly felt a familiar aura. Her soft rabbit ears suddenly stood up, and her little nose twitched as if she was smelling something. Her big ruber-like eyes quickly locked onto a figure in a grey cloak among a group of cultivators. Beside him stood another cloaked figure. The Taiyin jade hair's big eyes flashed with surprise and joy. Just as she was about to run over. In the distance, a golden light suddenly surged, and a sea of fire overturned. A group of figures appeared, and among them, 5 figures were like 5 blazing suns, emitting a vast light. The crown princes of the Sun God Mountain are here. Someone exclaimed. On the other side, 2 young men, one in black and one in white, traveled through the void and landed here. Their auras were deep and terrifying. The 2 saints of the Gulan sect are here too. This time, the surroundings of the boat of destiny were in an uproar. The real top prodigies had gathered together. The situation was going to be interesting. Chapter 670. The boat of fortune would definitely attract a group of top prodigies. That was for sure. The forbidden Dao child of the 4 elemental races, Xia Bingyun of the Xia family. There was also Yuan Silkworm Daozi of the divine Silkworm Valley. Now, the crown princes of the Sun God Mountain and the 2 holy princes of the Gulan sect had also arrived. The atmosphere around the boat of fortune suddenly became tense, and the smell of gunpowder began to fill the air. It seems that we are not late. Sheng Yu Yi smiled faintly. The boat of fortune. Rumor has it that it was created by an almighty from the ancient supreme immortal court. But now, it seems like no one from the supreme immortal court is here. Sheng Yu Yi said after looking around. Other than the 2 top Archean royalty of the divine Silkworm Valley and the Sun God Mountain, only the supreme Xian Ting could make them a little wary. Fortunately, They did not see anyone from the Supreme's Yan Ting. As for the Sun God Mountain, 5 crown princes had come this time. However, everyone looked around and saw that the most famous 10th crown prince was not here. Suddenly, among the 5 crown princes, the 3rd crown prince suddenly said indifferently, "I know you are here. Remnants of the Moon God Palace and the Yi clan, don't even think about escaping." These inexplicable words puzzled many people. Among them, a few prodigies from the profound heaven immortal realm flashed their eyes. They knew that the immortal realm forces of the profound heaven immortal realm, the Moon God Palace and the Yi clan, had been destroyed by the Sun God Mountain. Some time ago, the news of the Moon God Palace's sacred body of lunar body, Yu Chanhuan, appearing in the chaotic astral ocean had caused quite a stir. But now, the saintess of the Moon God Palace was here? What's going on? Did the crown princes of the Sun God Mountain not just come for the boat of fortune? Just as everyone was extremely confused, the 3rd crown prince suddenly took out something. It was a jade talisman, and the 10 princes of Jinwu had dripped a drop of blood into it. This drop of blood was the blood of the sacred body of the sun. It could naturally sense the sacred body of lunar body. At this moment, the blood in the jade talisman was leaping and glowing with a golden light. "Haha, you still want to hide?" The 3rd prince's eyes were as sharp as 2 small suns. They were terrifyingly bright and emitted a blinding divine light. He abruptly raised his hand and the sun saint power surged. It transformed into several energy balls and smashed toward one of the prodigies. "Damn it, run." The sky prides in that area were scared out of their wits when they saw the 3rd prince's sudden attack. The 10 golden crow crown princes of the Sun God Mountain all possessed extraordinary combat prowess and taboo powers. Not to mention, the golden crows possessed an extremely powerful energy, the sun saint power. The saint power of the sun was extremely explosive and hot. It could burn everything in the world. Ah! Screams of agony could be heard as some innocent geniuses were affected and turned into ashes. The golden crow princes only had coldness in their eyes. From this, it could be seen how tyrannical they usually were. Just then, a gust of lunar saint power surged like moonlight. It turned into a full moon and resisted the solar saint power. "The people of the Sun God Mountain are really crazy," a voice filled with anger rang out. In the crowd, a woman took off her grey cloak. In an instant, a stunning beauty that could make heaven and earth light up revealed her figure. The woman's eyes were exquisite and her eyes were clear. Her lips were red and her teeth were white. She was extremely beautiful. Her skin was as white and delicate as ivory. There was even a layer of moonlight around her. The woman's appearance was beautiful, but her figure was very impressive. Her blue dress outlined her seductive curves. Her figure was perfect. She was the Moon God Palace's saintess, Yu Chanhuan. Beside her, another figure also took off the grey cloak on his body. At a glance, it was Yi Yu. "Hey, he's here." When Yi Yu revealed his appearance, Yang Yu Meng revealed a look of surprise. "Why, do you know him?" Xia Bingyun asked. "His Jun Xiaoyao's follower," Yang Rumeng said. "I see, but now it seems that they have a grudge against the Sun God Mountain," Xia Bingyun said. On the other side, the 3rd prince sneered. "I didn't think that you would dare to come to the boat of destiny. But where can you hide? Surrender obediently. As the sacred lunar body, you are only fit to be a cultivation vessel for 10th brother. Don't struggle anymore," the 4th prince said indifferently. "That's right. You're lucky to have 10th brother's favor. You might be able to cultivate the chaotic body," the 6th prince said. Hearing these words, Yu Chanhuan's face turned extremely cold. She was so angry that her teeth chattered. "You're just a bunch of feathered animals. Since you refuse a toast, suppress her. As for the successor of the Yi clan beside her, kill him," the 3rd prince ordered. Behind them, more than 10 golden crow celestial guards flapped their wings and flew out. On the other side, Shengyu Yi and Shengyu Yi also revealed a cold look. "It might be a little difficult to get Yu Chanhuan today, but that man will definitely die," Shengyu Yi muttered. "It seems that we don't have to do anything, but it's a pity that we can't get Yu Chanhuan." Shengyu Yi's eyes were filled with regret. 5 of the 10 golden crow crown princes had come, and there were so many golden crow celestial guards. Even the 2 saints of the sacred sect couldn't snatch food from the tiger's mouth. At this moment, Tai-yin Jade Hair rushed out recklessly from Xia Bingyun's side. "Miss." Tai-yin Jade Hair looked anxious. "We'll go too," Yang Rumeng said. She couldn't watch Jun Xiaoyao's follower be surrounded and hunted by the people of the Sun God Mountain. Xia Bingyun also rushed out with some elders of the Xia clan. "What about us?" Shahong looked at the other 3 forbidden Taoists. One had to know that they might have to face the 10 golden crow crown princes, who were famous on the ancient road. "It seems that man and woman are related to the Son of God. I think we should act," Yu Baixian said. "That's right. This is a chance to get closer to the Son of God." Feng Shuran agreed. After a while, the 4 forbidden Taoists also acted. "How dare you!" Seeing that someone was going to stop them, a blazing golden light shot out of the 3rd crown prince's eyes. The 10 crown princes of the Sun God Mountain had dominated the ancient road, and no one dared to provoke them. But now, there was a group of people who dared to block their path. "Little Yu!" Yu Chanhuan shouted when she saw Tai-yin Jade Hair rushing over. Little Yu was Tai-yin Jade Hair's real name. "It's you, Yang Rumeng." Yi Yu was also surprised to see Yang Rumeng. After all, the ancient road was so vast. It was not easy to run into her. "Don't worry today. No one can touch you," Yang Rumeng said. "Could it be? The young master is in the chaotic astral ocean?" Yi Yu was excited. Previously, he and Yu Chanhuan had been hiding in a place, waiting for the opportunity to board the boat of destiny. Therefore, he did not have a source of information and naturally did not know about Jun Xiaoyao's situation. Yang Rumeng nodded. On the other side, the 3rd crown prince and the others looked gloomy. They had no intention of wasting time. With a wave of their hands, the Golden Crow Celestial Guards continued to attack. "Yu Chanhuan, my master is in the chaotic astral ocean. Our chance for revenge has come." Yi Yu's eyes shone with excitement. "That's right, young miss. You don't have to hide anymore. The young master will back us up," Tai-yin Jade Hair said with a smile. Yu Chanhuan was a little surprised when she heard that. Then, she could not help but ask, "Are you talking about the same person?" Chapter 671. Gigantic Crescent City, in a secret chamber. Jun Xiaoyaro sat cross-legged on the ground. Within his body, the sound of wind and thunder could be heard. It was as if a new world was about to be opened up in his body. The creation of the universe, the evolution of all things. This was not something that he could come into contact with at his level. Even for ordinary Supreme Being level experts, it was somewhat out of their league. Only those who were at the 6th level of the Supremes, the Creation Supremacy, or the 7th level of the Supremes, the Chaos Supremacy, could come into contact with these things. If one wanted to truly control and grasp the power to evolve the universe and reverse the creation of the universe, they had to be at least at the Boundary Emperor level. However, Jun Xiaoyaro was only at the Great Circle of the Sage Realm, and he had already come into contact with this level. Although it was an extremely shallow attempt, it was enough to make countless geniuses blush with shame. Rumble. As time passed, a sound came from Jun Xiaoyao's body again. One of his cells had once again turned into a Sumeru world. While he was comprehending and taking care of the inner universe, Jun Xiaoyaro had also used various treasures, such as the Chaos Origin Crystal, Creation Chi, and so on to temper the 3,000 Sumeru worlds. Although there were qualitative differences between the two, there were also some similarities. Jun Xiaoyao's gains were also extraordinary. Jun Xiaoyaro was able to conjure up 4 more Sumeru worlds as he let out that rumble. Including the previous one, he now had 5 Sumeru worlds. This was an extremely terrifying power. Just by relying on the power of this Sumeru world, Jun Xiaoyaro could challenge any Sage King at will. This was also one of the reasons why he could fight against a great sage. As the 5 Sumeru worlds were cultivated, immortal Qi appeared on the surface of Jun Xiaoyao's body again. This immortal Qi was very strange. It was like a bright silver galaxy with many miniature ancient stars floating in it. At this moment, Jun Xiaoyaro looked like a giant bigger than the Milky Way, like a god of creation. "I've cultivated the 11th immortal Qi," The world-immortal qi formed by the path of world evolution, Jun Xiaoyaro murmured. As mentioned before, for Jun Xiaoyaro, there was no limit to cultivating immortal qi. The more immortal qi he cultivated, the stronger his talent and strength. After breaking through, his strength would naturally be the best among his peers. After breaking the limit of 9, Jun Xiaoyaro saw a smooth path ahead of him. He could walk further and further at his own pace. Jun Xiaoyaro had created his own inner universe like a god of creation. Therefore, it was reasonable for him to be able to cultivate world-immortal qi. Boom! Accompanied by a tremor in his body, Jun Xiaoyao's body emitted a mysterious aura. It was as if he had his own laws and grand Daos. That was his world Dao. At this moment, Jun Xiaoyao's inner universe was no longer empty. Ancient stars appeared one after another. There were also some huge celestial bodies. More importantly, there were some celestial bodies orbiting around the larger celestial body. This was the operation of qi and also the initial operation of the laws. On those celestial bodies, magma flowed freely without any signs of life. Everything seemed extremely primitive, desolate, and lonely. However, there were also some celestial bodies that were extremely cold like dead stars with frozen rivers on them. The living soil of the 9 heavens, the rootless water, the eternal divine fire, and the wind of the great void were integrated into the inner universe. As a result, the inner universe began to have all kinds of substances with different attributes. It was no longer empty. Right now, this is only the initial change, but the inner universe has expanded by more than 10 times. The power of the inner universe has also increased by 10 times. Jun Xiaoyaro was thinking. He had gained a lot. Although the inner universe looked very primitive at the moment, like the primordial era, and there were no living creatures. However, he believed that everything would change in the future. As expected, it's just a preliminary step. It's not mature yet. I still need some reference and to integrate and refine more of the world origin to perfect my inner universe. Jun Xiaoyaro thought to himself. However, if some of the supremes of the older generation heard this, they would definitely want to die. One had to know that even some of the creation supremes and chaos supremes were powerhouses. The evolution of the universe and the creation of the world that they had come into contact with were only so. They were not even as good as Jun Xiaoyaro. Because there was no comparison, Jun Xiaoyaro instinctively thought that his inner universe was very crude. However, he had invisibly surpassed most of the creation supremes and chaos supremes. I still need the world origin of creation in the boat of destiny. After comprehending it, I can refine the power of the world origin into my inner universe, Jun Xiaoyaro said to himself. Some ancient star-devourer ancient beasts could produce a world in their bodies because they had swallowed too many ancient planets. The rich power of the world evolved on its own in his body. Jun Xiaoyaro felt as if he had become a star-devourer ancient beast. However, what he needed to swallow was the world origin of creation. For some reason, the image of a gluttonous snake appeared in Jun Xiaoyao's mind. Will I become a villain that swallows one world after another in the future? Jun Xiaoyaro suddenly thought. After a little tidying up, Jun Xiaoyaro came out of seclusion. He urgently needed the world origin of creation in the boat of destiny. Outside, Xia Chuqing had been waiting for him. Seeing Jun Xiaoyaro appear, Xia Chuqing's little face lit up with a bright smile. Young master. Xia Chuqing skipped forward. Where's your sister? Jun Xiaoyaro asked. The boat of destiny has appeared. Sister Bingyun and the others have already gone. She asked me to bring you to the teleportation array after you come out of seclusion, Xia Chuqing said. Okay, let's go. Jun Xiaoyaro nodded slightly. Xia Bingyun was very efficient. Such a person was very suitable to be the butler of the monarch imperial court. Next, Jun Xiaoyaro came to the teleportation array. Xia Chuqing did not go. After all, the inner section of the chaotic astral ocean was still very dangerous. She did not want to be a burden to Jun Xiaoyaro. Just as Jun Xiaoyaro was being teleported. On the boat of destiny, a great battle broke out. The 5 crown princes of the Sun God Mountain and a group of Golden Crow celestial guards. They were fighting with Yu Chanhuan, Yi Yu, Yang Rumeng, Xia Bingyun, and the four forbidden Taoists. Surging magical power ripples swept in all directions, bursting with brilliance of various colors. All the Sky Pride cultivators did not expect a battle of this level to break out before the Boat of Destiny had even opened. At this moment, the difference in strength between the two sides was not too great. The 5 crown princes of the Sun God Mountain were all powerhouses among the outlawed Sky Prides. However, the 4 forbidden Taoists might not be evenly matched, but they could at least delay for a while. At this moment, Sheng Yuyi and Sheng Yuyi looked at each other and joined the battle at the same time. They were very vengeful. Previously, Yi Yu had ruined their plans. Naturally, they would not let Yi Yu live. With these two joining the battle, the scales began to tilt. "Leave them to me." Yi Yu's eyes burst out with a cold light. He let out a long roar and fearlessly fought with the 2 saints. That person is too fierce. He's ruthless. Some Sky Prides sighed. I remember that he seems to be a follower of the Son of God. A few Sky Prides from the Huangtian mystic realm said. As time passed, the Sun God Mountain and the Gulan sect's advantage grew. The Xia clan even lost a few sage stage elders, torn to pieces by the Golden Crow Celestial Guards. Should I join in? Silkworm Valley's Silkworm Daoist was a little restless. He was waiting for the right time. At this moment, Silkworm Daoist's heart suddenly throbbed as a faint sense of danger emerged. What's going on? Who's here? Silkworm Daoist looked around. Boom! A vast force swept out, accompanied by a blazing golden light. A sea of fire swept across the universe as if a sun had descended. A hazy figure was wrapped in the sun, emitting endless light and heat. It was as if a god of the sun had descended into the world. Its 10th brother. Several Golden Crow princes shouted. A violent uproar spread out like a tide. All the Sky Prides were dumbfounded. The 10th princes of Jinwu, whose name shook the ancient road and who had the bearing of the ancient Golden Crow Emperor, had really arrived. At this moment, Yang Rumeng, Xia Bingyun, and the others all felt a sense of suffocation. Yu Chanjuan's beautiful eyes could not help but tremble as a faint trace of despair appeared in them. Previously, when the Moon God Palace was attacked, it was also this young figure who stood above the 9 heavens. With just one sentence, he had decided her fate. She was unwilling and unconvinced, but she could not resist. In the end, she fled pathetically. There was no helping it. The feeling that this figure gave off was too powerful. It was as if the Golden Crow Emperor had reincarnated and illuminated the universe. This figure wrapped in boundless divine light didn't say a single word, but it gave off an extremely strong sense of oppression. He directly took a step forward and suppressed. Vast amounts of sacred sun power surged out like a vast ocean. Such a domineering aura caused everyone to suck in a breath of air. As expected of the domineering 10th princes of Jinwu. This group is finished. Silkworm Daoist shook his head and sighed. Perhaps only the 9 transformations celestial silkworm of his divine Silkworm Valley could deal with this 10th princes of Jinwu. The other Sky Prides also sighed, thinking that the outcome was already decided. This group of people who had attacked were all going to be wiped out. Yu Chanjuan's delicate face was pale. She bit her red lips until they bled. She clenched her jade-like hands so tightly that her sharp nails pierced into her palms and dripped blood. Could it be that Yu Chanhuan was destined to become the cultivation vessel of the 10th princes of Jinwu? In the next moment, Yu Chanjuan's delicate body suddenly trembled. Her beautiful eyes widened, and even her breathing stopped. Not only her, but everyone else was the same. The reason for that was because they saw an unbelievable scene. The void above the 10th princes of Jinwu was suddenly torn apart. A transcendent figure enveloped in divine light stepped out. His white robes were whiter than snow, and his divine aura flowed around him. Then, he stomped down. Boom! The 10th princes of Jinwu, who had been suppressing the universe and shaking the 9 heavens, was directly stomped to the ground. His body collapsed, and the divine flames extinguished, revealing his fragmented body of laws. A mere Dharma body dares to act violently in front of this Son of God? Who gave you, a feathered beast, such confidence? As soon as he finished speaking, Zhun Xiaoyao's foot stomped down. With the power of 5 Sumeru worlds, it was as if the foot of a divine king was stomping down. The void was trampled, and the continent was about to collapse. The Dharma body that the 10th princes of Jinwu had spent endless effort to condense did not even have time to say a word before it was completely trampled and shattered into endless light spots. It could be said that it came quickly and left even faster. Everyone was dumbfounded. Chapter 672. There was dead silence around the boat of creation. The air seemed to have frozen. Many cultivators were still in a daze and had yet to come back to their senses. That was because everything had happened too quickly and too suddenly. It was completely unexpected. First, the 10 princes of Jinwu had arrived in a domineering manner. His aura had covered heaven and earth, as if the sun god had come out of seclusion. However, in the next moment, he had been trampled by someone and lost all his power. The contrast between before and after was too great, causing everyone to be dumbfounded. The 10 princes of Jinwu didn't even have a chance to say anything before he was gone. That was simply tragic. The 10 princes of Jinwu's reputation had been ruined. Young master is here. Lord son of God. Xia Bingyun, Yang Rumeng, Tai-Yin Jade Hair, and the others all exclaimed in surprise. The 3rd prince and the others were extremely shocked when they saw that. They knew that the figure was only one of the 10 princes of Jinwu's Dharma bodies. It was a Dharma body that he had refined for a long time and had half of his strength. It could be said that even the top prodigies of the Forbidden Realms wouldn't be able to defeat the 10 princes of Jinwu's Dharma body in a short period of time. However, it had been destroyed by Jun Xiaoyaro in a domineering manner. That wasn't a battle, but a blatant contempt. It was as if he was casually trampling an ant to death. His Jun Xiaoyaro. Yuan Kandaozi couldn't help but tremble. He actually felt lucky. Fortunately, he didn't make a mistake by intervening. Otherwise, the current situation would be troublesome. The other Golden Crow princes, Sheng Yuyi, Sheng Juyi, and the others also stopped fighting and fell into deep shock. The 10 princes of Jinwu's aura was already strong enough and had an extremely oppressive feeling. However, compared to the white-robed figure, it was like a small child in the presence of a great sorcerer. Their auras were on a completely different level. If it was said that the 10 princes of Jinwu gave people the feeling that they were overbearing emperors who dominated the world, then the 10 princes of Jinwu were the 10 princes of Jinwu. The feeling Jun Xiaoyaro gave others was that he was a white-clothed immortal king that had transcended the mortal world, stood above all living beings, and stood towering in the clouds of the 9 heaven. The two were not on the same level at all. Just as Jun Xiaoyaro destroyed the 10 princes of Jinwu's Dharmakaya with a single stomp. In the depths of the ancient final road, there was a scarlet star that resembled a sun. A treasure wheel that looked like a golden wheel floated in the air, emitting the aura of a boundary monarch weapon. Beneath the treasured wheel was the figure of a young king, who was wrapped in a divine sun. At a certain moment, he seemed to have sensed something and suddenly let out a long howl. The sea of fire collapsed and the Sun Saint force exploded. Jun Xiaoyao, how dare you destroy my Dharma body and ruin my plans? When I completely refine this quasi-emperor weapon, it will be your death. His voice reverberated in all directions, causing the entire scarlet ancient star to tremble. Countless large stars in the surrounding universe were shattered by the sound waves. It was obvious that this person's anger was surging. On the boat of destiny, Jun Xiaoyaro stood above the universe with his hands behind his back. His white robe fluttered in the wind, and his immortal qi was overflowing. His gaze first fell on the boat of destiny. He did not care about the other Golden Crow princes, the saints of the sacred sect, and the others. He completely ignored them. However, the Golden Crow prince and the others stopped what they were doing. Cold sweat seeped out of their foreheads, and their nerves were extremely tense. This scene was extremely shocking to the surrounding skyprides. Is this the might of the Jun family's son of God? Even if he doesn't say a word, the Golden Crow third prince and the others would not dare to act rashly. Some of the top outlawed skyprides had their own dignity and aura. Even if they just stood there and did not say a word, it was enough to make the other skyprides keep quiet and not dare to act rashly. Is this the boat of destiny? Jun Xiaoyaro muttered to himself. He had learned about it before. This boat of destiny was built by an ancient almighty of the supreme Xian Ting. It was an imitation of the World Crossing Ark. As for the World Crossing Ark, it was a legend in myths. When the universe was destroyed and ushered in the Great Tribulation of the era, the World Crossing Ark would appear and carry a small number of living beings to escape the calamity of destruction. This reminded Jun Xiaoyaro of Noah's Ark in Western legends. He also remembered that the mythical Empress Mi Fei had also mentioned the origin and secrets of the Great Tribulation of the era. Of course, these were not things that Jun Xiaoyaro should be thinking about right now. He believed that if such a day really came, his strength would have reached an unimaginable level by then, and he would be able to face everything calmly. The boat of destiny in front of him could not be compared to the World Crossing Ark in the myths. However, it was still built by an ancient almighty of the supreme Xian Ting. Naturally, its level would not be low. Jun Xiaoyaro could feel that there was a dense amount of world energy inside the boat of destiny. Jun Xiaoyaro slowly retracted his gaze. Only then did his gaze fall on the Golden Crow Prince, the saints of the sacred sect, and the others. Sensing Jun Xiaoyao's gaze, their hearts skipped a beat. Jun Xiaoyaro did not bother to waste any more time. He casually struck out with his palm. The 5 Golden Crow Princes and the 2 saints of the sacred sect resisted with all their might. However, they all spat out blood with a snort. Their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. The 7 outlawed Sky Prides combined were injured by Jun Xiaoyao's casual attack. After the attack, Jun Xiaoyaro said to Yi Yu, "Go. Your enemy is right in front of you. Collect some interest first." Yi Yu's body trembled when he heard this. His eyes were filled with gratitude. He knew that Jun Xiaoyaro wanted him to personally take revenge and eliminate his inner demons. Otherwise, with Jun Xiaoyao's strength, if he were to seriously attack, how could those people survive? Kill. Yi Yu's voice was filled with murderous intent. His eyes were filled with shocking anger and hatred. After the destruction of the Yi clan, he was exiled from the Shentian mystic realm to the Huangtian mystic realm. If he had not met Jun Xiaoyaro, he might not have the chance to take revenge in his entire life. Yu Chanhuan also attacked with reddened eyes. She needed to release the pent-up emotions in her heart. Yang Rumeng, Xia Bingyun, and the others also assisted in their attacks. A great battle broke out again. However, this time, the Sun God Mountain and the Gulan sect were at an absolute disadvantage. Jun Xiaoyao's casual attack had already injured them. On the other side, Jun Xiaoyaro glanced at Yuan Kandaozi. Yuan Kandaozi felt a chill run down his spine as if he had fallen into an ice cave. He instinctively took a few steps back, not daring to meet Jun Xiaoyao's eyes. Jun Xiaoyaro looked away and ignored him. The outcome of this battle was already decided. As long as Jun Xiaoyaro was around, the Golden Crow Prince and the Saints would not be able to escape. "Are you really going to kill us all? The Sun God Mountain will not let this go." The Golden Crow Third Prince screamed in despair. No one expected the situation to take such a turn. Jun Xiaoyaro alone was enough to make all of them unable to raise their heads. Now, they were in a life-and-death crisis. "Don't you think it's ridiculous to say this now?" Yi Yu's eyes were cold and the flames of revenge burned. He pulled the Star Destroyer bow and shot out the 9 stars alignment. Splat. Blood splattered across the sky and dyed the starry sky red. The Golden Crow Third Prince was dead. The other 4 princes and the 2 saints of the Saint sect could not escape the fate of death. Everyone who saw this scene felt their hearts skip a beat. One had to know that one side was from the Sun God Mountain and the other was from the Gulan sect. They were forces that could not be provoked. However, Jun Xiaoyaro did not have any scruples. There was not even a trace of emotion in his eyes. It was no different from killing cats and dogs. In other words, in his eyes, even the saints of the Archean royalty were just ants that he could kill with a wave of his hand. For a better reading experience, please visit the mobile version website, Book 5975. Chapter 673. Yi Yu and the others were extremely decisive in their attacks, not showing any mercy at all. That was because he knew that Jun Xiaoyaro was behind him, backing him up. How lucky was he to be able to follow such a master? Not long after, the 5 crown princes of the Sun God Mountain, the Golden Crow Celestial Guards, and the 2 saints of the Gulan sect were all dead. They were already severely injured by Zheng Xiaoyao's palm strike. Moreover, Yi Yu and the others were not weak either. They stood no chance at all. As for running away, with Zheng Xiaoyao around, even the 10 princes of Jinwu would not be able to escape, let alone them. Blood mist filled the starry sky. 7 outlawed sky prides had fallen at the same time. It was enough to shock everyone. Meanwhile, Zheng Xiaoyao was still standing there calmly. His eyes were as calm as a pool of clear water. Many female cultivators at the scene were mesmerized by his grace and bearing. Yi Yu was covered in blood. It was not his blood, but the blood of the Golden Crow clan's crown prince. At this moment, Yi Yu felt that his thoughts were more than half clear. He roared into the sky, and the Yishan bloodline in his body began to boil as if it was burning. Boundless light shone in all directions. His aura had broken through to the level of a perfected martial sage. This was extremely shocking. After all, even Zheng Xiaoyao was only a perfected martial sage. Of course, Zheng Xiaoyao had deliberately suppressed his breakthrough. This was because once he broke through, he would instantly surpass a large group of outlawed sky prides. To Yi Yu, his greatest gain was not the breakthrough in his cultivation level. A terrifying shadow vaguely appeared behind him. It was like a god, standing between the stars and shooting the sun with a bow. What's going on? What a terrifying aura. What's that? Is that a god from myths and legends? Many people sucked in a breath of cold air from all directions. This phenomenon was extremely shocking. Zheng Xiaoyao nodded in satisfaction when he saw this. As expected of his chosen follower. Because of this, Yi Yu's Yishan bloodline was instantly recovered by a big half. That astonishing sun-shooting phenomenon should be related to the origin of the Yi clan's bloodline, the mythical Di Yishan. After a period of awakening, Yi Yu's eyes were like the sun in the sky, the blood and qi in his body were like divine flames, and his essence qi rushed into the galaxy. At this moment, he was not just an outlaw-level sky pride. Furthermore, among the taboos, it should be considered a very strong one. It could be said that on the final ancient road, Yi Yu was already standing in the upper echelons. Apart from the supreme outlawed sky prides in the depths of the ancient road who had yet to reveal their true forms, there were not many who could overpower him. Yi Yu came in front of Zheng Xiaoyao, clasped his hands together, and knelt down heavily. This scene caused everyone in the surroundings to fall silent, their eyes filled with disbelief. After all, every outlawed sky pride was proud and unyielding. Not to mention kneeling, it was impossible for him to even lower his head. However, now, Yi Yu was kneeling in front of Zheng Xiaoyao, his heart filled with gratitude. "What are you doing? Get up." Zheng Xiaoyao smiled faintly. "Without you, young master, I, Yi Yu, would not be here today. When Yi Yu has my revenge, I'll let the remaining Yi clan members pledge allegiance to you and praise your true name." Although the Yi clan was a declining ancient emperor clan that was conquered by the Sun God Mountain, nevertheless, there were still a small number of them who survived. That was also a force to be reckoned with. "It's good that you have the heart." Zheng Xiaoyao helped Yi Yu up. Yi Yu's loyalty was unshakable. Beside him, Yu Chanhuan also stepped forward, her beautiful eyes filled with gratitude. She did not expect that the master Yi Yu mentioned was the same person who came to save her according to the Taiyin jade hair. What was even more unexpected was that this person was the son of God of the Jun clan, who caused a sensation in the ancient road of ultimate destination and suppressed countless sky prides. She finally understood why Yi Yu had said that it wouldn't take much effort for his master to destroy the Sun God Mountain. Because that was indeed the truth. Previously, she wondered if Yi Yu's master could not even defeat the 10 princes of Jinwu. Now that she thought about it, Yu Chanhuan felt that her thoughts were naive and laughable. "Chanhuan thanks young Master Jun. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid that I would be in danger today." Yu Chanhuan bowed, her impressive curves suddenly became more prominent. Many male sky prides around her had a burning passion in their eyes. The sacred Taiyin constitution was the world's #1 cauldron. Not to mention, Yu Chanhuan was so beautiful. She had an elegant and refined face, an impressive figure, and a strong and unyielding personality. If they could conquer such a woman, it would definitely satisfy their desire to conquer. At this moment, this top-grade furnace that everyone coveted was kneeling in front of Jun Xiaoyao. Many sky prides sighed secretly when they saw this. They thought that such a top-grade furnace was going to fall into Jun Xiaoyao's hands. If they were in Yu Chanhuan's shoes, they would also consider using their bodies to win over the son of god of the Jun clan and then take revenge for the Moon God Palace. After all, it was impossible for Yu Chanhuan to take revenge on the Sun God Mountain by herself. You are the holy maiden of the Moon God Palace. Seeing is believing, Jun Xiaoyao said with a faint look in his eyes. Yu Chanhuan's pretty face blushed slightly. She was a little embarrassed. She knew that her reputation, to a large extent, depended on her body. For a woman, this was not a glorious reputation. Yu Chanhuan raised her eyelids slightly, only to find that Jun Xiaoyao's deep eyes were very pure. There was no meaning in them. She was used to men looking at her with fiery eyes. Seeing such a calm gaze, she was a little uncomfortable. Miss, the young master is very nice. He was also the one who saved little Yu. Tai-Yin Jade Hair bounced over and giggled. It is our good fortune to be able to meet the young master. Yu Chanhuan smiled gratefully. However, strictly speaking, they were both saved by Jun Xiaoyao. How could she repay such a great kindness? Yu Chanhuan's heart was in a dilemma. Jun Xiaoyao only glanced at Yu Chanhuan before looking away. Although the woman in front of him was a top-grade furnace, Jun Xiaoyao did not need to use the sacred body of Tai-Yin to cultivate at all. Although this seductive body was enough to make a man ascend to the clouds, Jun Xiaoyao was not so low as to lower himself to that extent. Of course, he still wanted to benefit from Yu Chanhuan, but that could wait. At that moment, the boat of destiny, which had been silent all this while, suddenly began to tremble. On the dark surface, lines began to light up one after another. It was as if the stars in the sky had lit up and were imprinted on the boat of destiny. The entrance of the boat of destiny is about to open, a prodigy exclaimed. On the boat of destiny's body, an ancient teleportation array was activated, which could teleport people into the boat of destiny. The boat of destiny did not really have the structure of a boat. Inside it was a complete small world. Let's go in. Jun Xiaoyao waved his hand and said. The rest of the people also nodded, their eyes filled with excitement. Following Jun Xiaoyao, they would definitely be able to eat a lot of meat. The best opportunities in the boat of destiny would belong to them. Just as Jun Xiaoyao approached the teleportation array of the boat of destiny, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. What's wrong? Yang Rumeng asked. Nothing, Jun Xiaoyao said, the corners of his mouth curling into an undetectable smile. Just as almost all the prodigies around the boat of destiny had entered the boat of destiny. Somewhere in the depths of the starry sky, there was a divine consciousness transmission. What's going on? Did he find out something? I don't think so. This time, we spent so much money to give this gift. I hope that Jun Xiaoyao can accept it. Haha, for a better reading experience, please visit the mobile version of the website, Book 5975. Chapter 674. As the space shifted, the place began to spin. The geniuses that entered the boat of fortune found themselves in a new place within the blink of an eye. They could see mountains, rivers, oceans, suns, moons, and even rivers. There were lofty mountains, winding rivers, and towering trees. The place was filled with a strong presence of qi. Even the most ordinary grass had grown to a height of a few hundred meters. It was like a dense forest. So this is the world inside the boat of fortune? Yang Rumeng, Xia Bingyun, Yi Yu, Yu Chanhuan, and the others glanced around and took a deep breath. To saints like them, the ability to create a world out of thin air was utterly unbelievable. However, it was not as magical in Jun Xiaoyao's eyes. The reason being that Jun Xiaoyao had already begun to explore the world. It must be the work of a boundary monarch or above to be able to create such a stable world. However, the rules of the heavens and earth are still the same as the rules of the 9 heavens immortal realm, Jun Xiaoyao murmured. His vision was much clearer than the others. The rules of the world were based on the power of the rules of the 9 heavens immortal realm. Unlike Jun Xiaoyao, who was able to create a world that belonged solely to him. Even though I haven't found my own path, the world that these almighties have created is indeed very mature. Jun Xiaoyaro was comprehending it. There was no sign of life in his inner universe. It could not form any life either. No living being would have been able to survive in Jun Xiaoyao's inner universe. That was because Jun Xiaoyao's inner universe was still in its infancy. However, the world inside the boat of fortune was able to support the survival of living creatures. If the heavens and earth were to be robbed, the boat of fortune might be able to protect some people. Wow, am I seeing things? That's a radish as big as a hill, the Taiyin jade hare exclaimed. Her eyes glittered as she opened her mouth wide. Because she saw a radish the size of a small hill. Jun Xiaoyaro said, the rules of heaven and earth here have been specially modified. The spiritual qi here is rich and suitable for cultivators to cultivate. All kinds of plants have also grown more luxuriant. This is indeed a land of opportunity. Xia Bingyun's beautiful eyes also flashed with light. She cultivated with the precious book, and at this moment, she had already sensed quite a few treasures. She was a bit impatient. You can split up to search for opportunities, but remember, if you encounter any changes, don't think too much. Immediately leave the boat of destiny, Jun Xiaoyaro said. Yi Yu and the others had strange expressions on their faces. Could it be that Jun Xiaoyaro sensed something was wrong? However, they would naturally listen to Jun Xiaoyaro. Soon, everyone split up and went to find their own opportunities. Jun Xiaoyaro suddenly smiled and whispered to himself, if you want to play, then this son of God will accompany you to the end. With that, Jun Xiaoyaro took a step forward and entered the boat of destiny. The world inside the boat of destiny was very vast. It was like a continent in the lower realm. There were also many opportunities, such as immortal marrow veins, sacred herb fields, and so on. These opportunities would tempt even the outlawed sky prides. However, Jun Xiaoyaro just flashed by and ignored them. He knew that Xia Bingyun and the others would go back and collect these treasures. What was theirs was Jun Xiaoyao's. Now that the entire Xia family belonged to Jun Xiaoyaro, he did not have to collect these resources himself. Jun Xiaoyaro only had one goal in coming to the boat of destiny, and that was to find the small world's origin source inside the boat of destiny. Just as Jun Xiaoyaro was going deeper, the other sky prides were also searching in the small world. Of course, they would not have a smooth journey. There were also many ferocious beasts in the small world. Even some ancient mutated beasts could be seen. Some of them had been sent in when the boat of destiny was built. Some were the descendants of wild beasts. However, without exception, these mutated beasts were extremely powerful. Due to the small world's incomplete laws, these mutated beasts could not break through to a higher realm. However, they were nourished by rich spiritual energy, which made them even more ferocious, violent, and powerful. Everywhere, sky prides could be heard screaming in pain. Some of them had died and were bleeding profusely. Whoosh! An arrow pierced through a perfected sage-level flaming eagle. Yi Yu landed on the ground. Looking at the fire spiritual earth vein, he grinned. This would be extremely helpful to his cultivation. On the other side, Yu Chanhuan found an immortal herb that had been growing for an unknown number of years. It was the lunar underworld spirit flower. This flower's petals opened up like a lunar disk, sprinkling a holy brilliance. With this immortal herb, my injuries can be fully healed and improved. Yu Chanhuan's beautiful eyes lit up. The Taiyin jade hare also found many sage-level carrots. Carrots, white carrots, green carrots, so many carrots. I'm so happy. The Taiyin jade hare's rabbit ears perked up in excitement. Of course, the one who gained the most was Xia Bingyun. After all, she cultivated with a treasure book, and treasure hunting was her specialty. Xia Bingyun waved her hand, and a golden bowl appeared in front of her. This was naturally not the treasure bowl. The Xia family would not let Xia Bingyun run around with a monarch weapon. This was a replica of the treasure bowl, but it also had part of the treasure bowl's abilities. Come. Xia Bingyun's jade-like hands formed a seal. The entire immortal marrow vein was sucked into the replica of the treasure bowl. Now that I've joined young master's monarch imperial court, I must show the value of the Xia family. Xia Bingyun's eyes were bright. She was very smart and knew very well what Zhun Xiaoyaro needed from the Xia family. It was money and resources. In the small world of the Boat of Fortune, the people around Zhun Xiaoyaro were all harvesting fortuitous opportunities. On the other side, Yuan Kandaozi also had his own harvest, but his expression was still not very good. I'm not satisfied if I can't get that woman. Yuan Kandaozi clenched his fists. His interest in Yang Yu Meng even exceeded his interest in the Tai-Yin Holy Physique. Forget it, it's better not to act rashly and wait for an opportunity, Yuan Kandaozi said coldly. At this moment, the Boat of Fortune was in full swing. The starry sky outside the Boat of Fortune was silent. All the prodigies had entered the Boat of Fortune. Amidst the silence, 4 figures suddenly appeared. These 4 figures shone with resplendent radiance and were wrapped in divine light. They were like 4 mythical gods that had descended into the world. They were scattered in the 4 directions of the north, south, east, and west, like the 4 mythical heavenly kings guarding the heavenly court. Guangmu, it's about time, said one of the figures. He's already in the trap. Let's activate that thing. Haha, it's already giving Zhun Xiaoyao a lot of face to make the 4 of us attack at the same time. Don't be careless. Lord Jiyu Tiezi has set this trap. We must take down Zhun Xiaoyao in one fell swoop. Then we'll suppress him and only leave him with one breath. Then, Lord Jiyu Tiezi will kill him and take the heavenly crown. Let's begin. If any prodigies were here and saw this scene, they would definitely be extremely shocked. These 4 were the 4 little heavenly kings of the Supreme Xian Ting. For a better reading experience, please visit the mobile version of the website, Book 5975. Chapter 675. The 4 little heavenly kings of the Supreme Xian Ting were extremely famous on the ancient road. Each of them was a sky pride who could dominate an entire ancient road and had the record of killing outlawed sky prides. They were also the best among the outlawed sky prides. If the 4 of them joined forces, even the supreme outlawed sky prides would be wary of them. However, in the past, there was almost nothing that could make the 4 little heavenly kings act together. This was the first time. Zhun Xiaoyaro was the only one who was qualified to make the 4 little heavenly kings act together. They took out a disc-like vessel. It was very ancient and had greenish-gold copper rust on its surface. It looked like it was dug out from the ground and was extremely old. The 4 of them poured their magical powers into the bronze disc at the same time. In an instant, the disc lit up and light patterns spread out like the roots of a plant. At the same time, light patterns appeared on the surface of the entire Boat of Destiny. They flickered as if they were resonating with the bronze disc. Meanwhile, the sky prides in the Boat of Destiny were unaware of all this. They were still eagerly searching for various opportunities. Various battle fluctuations erupted in the Boat of Destiny from time to time. It was between cultivators and beasts, and between cultivators. The people around Zhun Xiaoyaro were also looking for opportunities to improve themselves. Zhun Xiaoyaro himself went deep into the Boat of Destiny. At a certain moment, his footsteps paused slightly. He looked up at the sky and smiled faintly. You can't wait anymore? If that's the case, let me see what you're capable of. After saying that, Zhun Xiaoyaro continued to go deeper into the Boat of Destiny. He sensed the changes in the Boat of Destiny but did not pay much attention to it. He continued to focus on his own matters. After about a few hours, Zhun Xiaoyaro almost arrived at the core area of the Boat of Destiny. This area was filled with an ancient aura. Ferocious beasts roared and ancient birds covered the sky with their wings. It was an extremely dangerous place. Zhun Xiaoyaro sensed more than 10 Sage King-level beasts' auras. It could be said that if ordinary sky prides were to come here, they would only be devoured by the beasts. Zhun Xiaoyaro did not care. He strolled leisurely and went deeper. Hiss! A Saint King-level mottled snake suddenly shot out from the dense grass. It opened its mouth and spat out a poisonous mist that was enough to turn a saint into pus and blood. Zhun Xiaoyaro casually threw out a punch. Divine might burst forth, and the wind from his fist was vast and mighty. The void was torn apart as tens of thousands of runes burst forth. Bang! The Saint King Realm piebald python's head was directly smashed apart. With Zhun Xiaoyao's current cultivation, ordinary Saint Kings were no threat to him. Roar! In the distance, a pitch-black mountain suddenly trembled and rocks rolled down. Shockingly, it was a pitch-black devilish ape that was over 1 kilometer tall and lofty like a primeval devilish mountain. The pitch-black demonic ape punched out, bringing with it a wave of pitch-black fishy wind. The mountain-sized fist smashed down, as heavy as 10,000 catties. Zhun Xiaoyao was still as ordinary as ever as he threw out a punch. The sacred body of the ancients combined with the power of 100,000 divine elephants burst forth. That power far surpassed that of the pitch-black demonic ape. Crack! With an explosion, the pitch-black demonic ape's thick arm exploded, and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Zhun Xiaoyao used his fingers as a sword. His figure flashed and swept past the pitch-black demonic ape. Blood spurted out from its black-haired neck. Its huge head fell down, and it was instantly dead. Then, Zhun Xiaoyao continued to move forward. No ferocious beast could stop him. Finally, he went deep into this ancient area. However, he immediately sensed a faint sense of danger. The sound of wind and thunder came from the core of the area. That sound was like the roar of a cow, but also like thunder. Could it be? Zhun Xiaoyao's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. In front of him, between the towering mountains and precipitous ridges, wind and rain whistled, and lightning filled the sky. A strange beast that looked like a green ox was lying in the middle of it, sleeping soundly. And the sound of its breathing when it was sleeping was as vast as the wind and thunder, swallowing and spitting thunder. Zhun Xiaoyao noticed that there was only one leg under the green ox. This is an ancient strange beast, the Kuei ox, Zhun Xiaoyao thought. The Kuei ox was an extremely terrifying ancient strange beast. It was on par with the 9-headed fierce beast, Zhuyang ape, and Qiongqi. In ancient times, there were great emperor-level experts who killed the Kuei ox and used its skin to make the emperor weapon, the Kuei ox drum. When the drum sounded, it shook 3,000 worlds. Of course, the Kuei ox in front of him could not be a pure-blooded ancient Kuei ox. A pure-blooded ancient Kuei ox was strong enough to fight against a quasi-emperor. However, although it was not a pure-blooded ancient Kuei ox, it still had the strength of a great saint and could not be underestimated. The flame snake general that I killed before was only a half-step great saint. Even the 5th sinner of the sinful pit was injured because of him. This great saint Kuei ox is just right to test my current strength, Zhun Xiaoyao muttered to himself. Although his realm had not changed much, his inner universe had transformed, and he had also cultivated the power of 5 Sumeru worlds, as well as the 11th strand of immortal qi. Therefore, his realm had not changed, but his strength was far greater than before. Zhun Xiaoyao did not hesitate and directly attacked. If others were to see this scene, they would be extremely shocked. It was simply insane for a saint stage expert to attack a great saint stage expert in perfect condition. Moreover, this great saint Kuei ox was definitely more powerful than a great saint of the same realm. Roar! The Kuei ox was immediately awakened and found that a human was attacking it. It let out an earth-shattering roar, and the sound turned into a destructive sound wave that swept out and shook all directions. The two sides began to fight. Zhun Xiaoyao also attacked with all his strength, and 11 strands of immortal qi appeared on the surface of his body. If other elites saw this scene, they would think that their eyes were playing tricks on them. 11 strands of immortal qi, like 11 true dragons, wrapped around Zhun Xiaoyao's body, causing Zhun Xiaoyao's body to surge with immortal light, as if he was a supreme immortal king. Even the Kuei ox was a little dumbfounded, and its eyes were a little dazed. This human cultivator did not care about martial ethics and used so much immortal qi to harm it, the old Kuei ox. Then, Zhun Xiaoyao used the universal qi cauldron and added the power of 5 Sumeru worlds to it. Divine power surged, and the laws shocked the world. Countless runes surged out like a vast ocean. Even the great Saint Kuei ox was a little overwhelmed in the face of such an attack. Zhun Xiaoyao's strength could not be measured by cultivation realm. Soon, Zhun Xiaoyao killed the Kuei ox. It had to be said that this great Saint Kuei ox was very strong. In Zhun Xiaoyao's body, 3 of the 5 Sumeru worlds were broken. This meant that the Kuei-Ox's attack power was enough to destroy 3 Sumeru small worlds. However, because of the Sumeru worlds, the Kuei-Ox did not cause any harm to Jun Xiaoyao. The broken Sumeru worlds could be slowly recovered by replenishing all kinds of energy. Now, I don't have to be afraid of a great saint. Jun Xiaoyao measured his own strength. He did not use all his trump cards. Just relying on the immortal Qi, Sumeru worlds, universal Qi cauldron, and other power methods, he could deal with a great saint. After killing the Kuei-Ox, Jun Xiaoyao also came to the core area. This was a barren ancient land. Jun Xiaoyao used his fingers as a sword, and the immortal slaying sword Qi gushed out, swallowing a mighty sword light that was thousands of feet long, and directly slashed down on the ground. The ground split open, and a myriad of strands of multicolored light effused out from within. They were extremely colorful and gorgeous. There was a blazing rain of light that spread out, as if a divine object of heaven and earth was about to be born. Flowers of rules bloomed one after another, and they were incomparably gorgeous, accompanied by the rain of light of the great Tao, gushing with auspicious clouds. Under the crack, light spread out, and a hazy ball of origin appeared. It seemed to reflect the heavens, and all kinds of divine chains of rules intertwined with an incomparably mysterious aura. I've finally found it, the creation realm's origin. Jun Xiaoyao's eyes lit up, and he raised his hand to grab it. At this moment, the entire world in the boat of creation suddenly began to tremble, and there was an extremely shocking fluctuation. The order of heaven and earth fell into chaos. "Oh, are you finally going to make a move?" Jun Xiaoyao's expression was calm, and he revealed a cold smile. Chapter 676. In the world of the boat of destiny, heaven and earth were shaking. It was as if an ancient giant was shaking the entire world with his hands. Mountains collapsed and the earth shattered. Many beasts and birds living in the world instinctively felt that something was wrong, as if destruction was coming. What's going on? What happened? Is the boat of destiny going to close? The paragons scattered in the world of the boat of destiny were shocked and confused. However, they had just entered and had not collected many opportunities, so they were unwilling to leave just like that. However, Jun Xiaoyao's subordinates had a different attitude. Young Master once said that if there are any strange movements in the boat of destiny, don't hesitate and leave immediately, Yu muttered to himself. In a flash, he flew out of the boat of destiny. Yang Rumeng, Xia Bingyun, Yu Chanhuan, Tai Yin Jade Hair, the 4 forbidden Dao children, and the others left the world of the boat of destiny without hesitation. They had heard Jun Xiaoyao's warning before, so they did not hesitate. What's going on? Yuan Kandaozi also felt that something was wrong. He was considered to be more cautious. After weighing the pros and cons, he gritted his teeth and left. Some paragons left the boat of destiny. However, there were also paragons who were not afraid of death and wanted to take a gamble. They continued to stay and search for opportunities frantically. On the other hand, Jun Xiaoyao looked at the changes in heaven and earth with a calm expression. At that moment, many divine chains of order suddenly appeared in the sky. The dense divine chains of order extended from the depths of the sky like roots and vines. Then, they all fell. Rumble. There was a terrifying explosion of heavenly thunder. The thunderbolts were like angry dragons that poured down together with the divine chains of order. At that moment, all the paragons who stayed in the boat of destiny were dumbfounded. Their eyes were filled with shock and panic. They could feel an apocalyptic heavenly might sweeping down, as if it was going to destroy everything. How is this possible? What's going on? Could it be that we have collected too many opportunities and angered the world rules in the boat of destiny? All the paragons were at a loss and could not believe it. Soon, screams could be heard. Some geniuses had their bodies pierced by divine chains of order descending from the heavens, and their primordial spirits were annihilated. There were also some geniuses who were struck by the lightning. Their physical bodies turned to dust and their primordial spirits exploded in the blazing lightning. It wasn't just those prodigies. There were all kinds of ferocious beasts and strange birds in the boat of destiny. As long as it was a living being, it would be attacked indiscriminately by the lightning tribulation and God sequence chains. This was a calamity that would wipe out all living beings. Screams of agony rose and fell one after another, lingering in the ears. On Zhun Xiaoyao's side, he was also under attack. Hundreds of divine chains of order fell from the sky and pierced through. Ordinary prodigies could be killed with just a few God sequence chains. At this moment, Zhun Xiaoyao was facing hundreds of God sequence chains. So that's how it is. Using the worldly rules of the boat of fortune to deal with me is indeed a good idea. Zhun Xiaoyao knew that the other party must be afraid of him, which was why they had used the boat of fortune to set up a trap. He raised his hand and struck out. Vast divine power surged, and his chi surged like a dragon into the sky. Immortal light surged and shone brightly. Zhun Xiaoyao used the Lightning Emperor's finger of the Lightning Emperor's great divine power. He pointed out with his finger, and it was as if the ancient Lightning Emperor had pressed down with his finger. The lightning tribulation that filled the sky was absorbed, increasing its power. When the Lightning Emperor's finger landed, hundreds of God sequence chains exploded at the same time, and runes shot out. That would have been a surefire death trap for common geniuses, but it was nothing to Zhun Xiaoyao. At this moment, outside the boat of fortune, one figure after another emerged from the distorted space. Those were the figures that had escaped from the boat of fortune previously. As soon as they came out, they immediately saw the 4 figures standing on the 4 sides of the boat of fortune. Those 4 figures were like the legendary heavenly generals of the heavenly court, wrapped in endless divine light. The 4 of them were activating a bronze disc together. There was a deep connection between the bronze disc and the Ark of Fortune. They are the 4 little heavenly kings of the supreme Xian Ting, some prodigies exclaimed in shock. They never expected that the changes in the boat of fortune would come from the 4 little heavenly kings of the Xian Ting. It really is the 4 little heavenly kings. Why are they here? Could it be because... Someone looked confused, and then immediately thought of something. Zhun Xiaoyao. These 3 words immediately appeared in everyone's minds. Apart from Zhun Xiaoyao, they couldn't think of anyone else who was qualified to make the 4 little heavenly kings act together. Yi Yu, Yang Rumeng, Xia Bingyun, and the others also left the boat of fortune immediately. Where is the young master? Why didn't he come out? Xia Bingyun looked around and hurriedly asked. Zhun Xiaoyao reminded them to come out, but he didn't come out himself. Don't worry. He naturally has his reasons, Yang Rumeng said. It was not the first time Zhun Xiaoyao was in danger. He had his reasons for doing whatever he wanted. They are. On the other hand, Yi Yu fixed his eyes on the 4 little heavenly kings. They are the 4 little heavenly kings of the supreme Xian Ting. They were the ones who did it. Could it be? Xia Bingyun immediately thought of many possibilities. On the other side, Heavenly King Zhengzhang of the 4 minor heavenly kings, who was clad in green armor, smirked and said, I'm afraid that Zhun Xiaoyao has no idea that the Almighty of the Immortal Court who forged the Boat of Fortune is from the Fuxi celestial lineage. The Supreme Xian Ting was an undying faction that once ruled over the 9 heavens immortal realm. It went without saying that it had more than one lineage. It was divided into different immortal lineages. The first ones that showed up on the ancient Ultimate Road were the successors of the Fuxi immortal lineage and the Empress Wa immortal lineage. Jiyu Tiezi of the Fuxi immortal lineage and Ling Yang, the princess of the Empress Wa immortal lineage. The person who built the Boat of Fortune was an expert from the ancient Fuxi immortal lineage. Senior Jiyu Tiezi has found the control hub of the Boat of Fortune due to a fortunate encounter. He gave it to us to set up a trap to take down Zhun Xiaoyao. We must complete the mission perfectly. Heavenly King Chtarastra in a white armor and holding a jade peeper said. Perhaps none of the elites would have guessed that the appearance of the Boat of Creation was a trap set up by the ancient prince from the very beginning. A trap specifically set up to take down Zhun Xiaoyao. I wonder what's going on inside the Boat of Fortune? Heavenly Emperor Poliwen in a green armor asked. Heavenly Emperor Guangmu in a red armor said with a calm smile, let's take a look. He activated his own technique and divine light flickered in his eyes. A huge spiritual eye appeared in the void. Suddenly, the scene inside the Boat of Fortune was projected into the universe. In the scene, Heaven and earth roared as countless divine chains danced in the air. Lightning bolts poured down like a waterfall as if it was the end of the world. This was because the four little heavenly kings had activated the control hub of the boat of destiny, which was the bronze disc. The bronze disc could control the precepts of heaven and earth inside the boat of fortune. When they saw the scene in the projection, all the sky prides who managed to escape trembled in fear. They were overjoyed to have survived a calamity. They were only one step away from death. It's the young master. Xia Bingyun and the others saw it through the projection. In the core area of the boat of fortune, Jun Xiaoyaro stood alone in the sky, resisting the divine chains. What? He's not injured at all? Seeing Jun Xiaoyaro calmly resisting the divine chains, the four heavenly kings were slightly stunned. The other geniuses could be killed with just a few divine chains. But now, hundreds of divine chains shot out at the same time, and Jun Xiaoyaro was not injured at all. This was a little terrifying and beyond their expectations. Chapter 677. No wonder Lord Jiu Tiezi told us not to be careless. Jun Xiaoyaro really can't be judged by common sense, Tarastra said with a solemn expression. So what? Jun Xiaoyaro is now a caged beast. Are you still afraid that he will escape? Heavenly King Zhengzhang sneered. Increase the intensity of your attacks on Jun Xiaoyaro, but don't kill him. When the time comes, keep him alive and let Lord Jiu Tiezi kill him, Heavenly King Duowen reminded. Any one of the 7 rebellious emperors who killed Jun Xiaoyaro would be rewarded with the heavenly Dao crown. After fusing with it, they would definitely have the potential to become a great emperor. But the prerequisite was that they had to kill Jun Xiaoyaro with their own hands. Whether it was a scheme, a trap, or a hunt, it would only be effective if they killed him with their own hands. Now, if the 4 heavenly kings used the power of the boat of destiny to kill Jun Xiaoyaro directly, Jiu Tiezi would not receive any rewards. Therefore, they had to bring Jun Xiaoyaro back alive. Of course, they only needed a trace of life aura. They could even bring Jun Xiaoyao's primordial spirit back. The 4 heavenly kings activated the control hub. Inside the boat of destiny, more divine chains of order flew out as if the sky was falling and the earth was cracking. The elites who had not escaped and the ferocious beasts that remained in the small world were almost all killed and turned into ashes under the heavenly tribulation. Only Jun Xiaoyaro was still alive in the boat of destiny. Outside, Yang Rumeng trembled and could not help but say, could it be that there are 7 rebellious emperors in the supreme Xianting? Jun Xiaoyaro was playing a game with the heavenly Dao, and the 7 rebellious emperors were sent to deal with Jun Xiaoyaro. This was already known to everyone. The only thing that people did not know was the identity of the 7 rebellious emperors. Jun Xiaoyaro and the supreme Xianting did not have any conflict before. Now, the 4 heavenly kings were targeting Jun Xiaoyaro. It was obvious that someone in the supreme Xianting had instructed him to do so. How dare you attack the young master? Die. Yi Yu was the first to attack without hesitation. Even if his opponents were the famous 4 heavenly kings of Xianting, he was not afraid at all. The star extermination bow of destruction was drawn, gathering the power of the stars to form an arrow that shot out explosively. Temph, a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Overestimating yourself. Heavenly King Verpka and Heavenly King Vaisravana turned around and charged at Yi Yu. On the other side, Yu Chanhuan, Xia Bingyun, the 4 forbidden Dao children, and the others also attacked. Yang Rumeng took a step forward and was about to make a move as well. Naturally, they could not watch the 4 heavenly kings surround and hunt Jun Xiaoyaro. At that moment, a figure appeared in front of Yang Rumeng. It was Yuan Kandaozi. Yang Rumeng's beautiful face was filled with anger. She didn't think that Yuan Kandaozi would take this opportunity to make things difficult for her. I finally found a chance. It's impossible to save Jun Xiaoyaro, Yuan Kandaozi said with a cold smile. This opportunity was finally grasped by him. In his view, with the 4 heavenly kings making a move, Jun Xiaoyaro was likely going to be done for this time. He could also make use of this opportunity to suppress Yang Rumeng. At the same time, he could also gain the supreme Xianting's favorable impression. Something that could have the best of both worlds, why not? Yuan Kandaozi, You'll regret it. Yang Rumeng's jade-like face was cold as she directly attacked. A chaotic battle broke out. One had to admit that the 4 heavenly kings of Xianting were extremely strong. One heavenly king Vaisravana blocked Yi Yu and Yu Chanhuan. Heavenly king Verpka faced Xia Bingyun and the 4 forbidden Dao children alone. Looks like you all are crazy, to dare attack the supreme Xianting, Heavenly king Verpka snorted coldly. Although the supreme Xianting had collapsed, its power was still there. These people were actually going against him for Jun Xiaoyao. Making an enemy out of young master is the stupidest thing you've ever done, Xia Bingyun reprimanded coldly. Outside the boat of destiny, a shocking battle broke out. The other prodigies were watching from afar. On one side was Jun Xiaoyao's camp, and on the other side was the supreme Xianting's camp. Neither side was easy to provoke. This was not a situation they could intervene in. If they stood on the wrong side, it would be over. On the other side, Heavenly King Zhengzhang and Heavenly King Chtarastra were the control hubs. Suddenly, inside the boat of destiny, heaven and earth were overturned, and the laws were chaotic. Thousands of god sequence chains fell from the sky, attacking Jun Xiaoyao in unison. This was extremely terrifying. A few god sequence chains were enough to kill an ordinary prodigy. At this moment, thousands of god sequence chains were attacking one person at the same time. The power could be imagined. Jun Xiaoyao's expression was indifferent. The 4 heavenly kings thought that he was a trapped beast, but they did not know that he had already noticed the clues. If Jun Xiaoyao wanted to leave, he could have done so long ago. This method is not enough to take my life, Jun Xiaoyao. The myriad qi cauldron was suspended above Jun Xiaoyao. Wisps of myriad qi fell, becoming his strongest defense. Jun Xiaoyao's mana was fully activated. The sacred body of the ancients was like a dragon that crossed the sky. Every move could shatter the void and turn heaven and earth upside down. Continuous clanging sounds were heard. The god sequence chains fell on the myriad qi cauldron, and the sound of metal trembling burst out. Jun Xiaoyao used the Thunder Emperor's great technique and the Kuan Peng's great technique. With a raise of his hand, many god sequences were shattered. In the outside world, Heavenly King Zhengzhang and Heavenly King Chtarastra were extremely surprised when they saw this scene. One had to know that this was not their doing, but the laws of the Boat of Destiny. Who built the Boat of Destiny? It was built by the Supreme Xianting, Fuxi celestial lineage of the ancient times. The current Jun Xiaoyao was equivalent to fighting against the laws established by that Almighty. Continue. The 2 of them controlled the bronze disc again. Waves of rule power fell like shackles, imprisoning Jun Xiaoyao. This was the suppression of the rule power, which caused Jun Xiaoyao's strength to decrease. Jun Xiaoyao immediately felt as if there was a great force pressing down on him. The pressure was so great that his physical body and bones were cracking. This is at least the Emperor realm rule power. The one who built the Boat of Destiny was a great emperor. Although it had been a long time, and the rule power in the Boat of Destiny was not complete, it was still the work of a great emperor. When the rule power fell, not to mention a saint. Even a supreme saint or sacred lord would probably have their physical body shattered. Jun Xiaoyao was only able to withstand it due to his resilient physical body. He can still hold on like this. In the outside world, Chtarastra and Zhengzhang did not know what to say. That was the Emperor realm rule power. Even if the rule power was incomplete due to the passage of time, it was not something that a saint could withstand. If we strengthen the rule power and accidentally kill Jun Xiaoyao, that would be bad, Chtarastra said. Gu Tiezi wanted them to suppress Jun Xiaoyao and bring him back to kill him personally. Let's go in. With the rule power of heaven and earth suppressing, Jun Xiaoyao can't do anything, Zhengzhang said. Chtarastra nodded. With the control hub, the Boat of Destiny was their home ground. On the other side, Virupaksa and Vaisravana's eyes flashed when they saw this, and they retreated at the same time. The 4 minor heavenly kings escaped into the Boat of Destiny. Don't run. Yi Yu and the others caught up and wanted to enter the Boat of Destiny, but they found that the entire Boat of Destiny was sealed. The 4 minor heavenly kings had the authority to control the Boat of Destiny. Damn it. Yi Yu's eyes were cold. On the other side, Yang Rumeng temporarily stopped fighting with Origin Silkworm Daozi. No wonder my celestial silkworm treasure reacted. It turns out that your true form is the Skydream bewildering butterfly. Origin Silkworm Daozi's eyes were burning. Their celestial silkworm valley had a long history with the crack demonic butterfly, archaic emperor butterfly, and Skydream bewildering butterfly. Origin Silkworm Daozi's heart was burning. By the time Jun Xiaoyaro fell, he would be able to suppress Yang Rumeng without any worries and take her for himself. Yang Rumeng was not in the mood to tangle with Origin Silkworm Daozi now. She looked at the projection in the starry sky with a hint of anxiety in her beautiful eyes. The 4 minor heavenly kings had sealed the entire boat of destiny to hunt Jun Xiaoyaro. Under the suppression of the boat of destiny's emperor realm rules, even someone as strong as Jun Xiaoyaro was suppressed to the extreme and could not unleash his full strength. On the other hand, the 4 minor heavenly kings were in their peak condition. When the 4 of them joined forces, even the supreme outlawed Skyprides would be wary. All the Skyprides focused their attention on the boat of destiny. They wanted to witness the battle between the 4 minor heavenly kings. They wanted to hunt the invincible legend of the younger generation. In the end, would the 4 minor heavenly kings die, or would the legend be destroyed? Chapter 678. The world inside the boat of destiny was riddled with holes. The ground was shattered and the mountains were charred black. After the baptism of the heavenly tribulation lightning waterfall, the entire world inside the boat of destiny was dead silent. A thick burnt stench filled the air. It was the smell of ferocious beasts and cultivator corpses after being baptized by the heavenly tribulation. It could be said that this was a great massacre. If word got out, it would shock the entire ancient road. This was because many famous Skyprides had fallen in it. What was even more tragic was that they were just fish in the pond that got caught in the fire. From the beginning to the end, they were not the target. In the void, the 4 heavenly kings tore through the void and arrived at the core area. What surprised them was that the white-clothed figure was just standing there calmly, as if he was waiting for the 4 of them to arrive. Jun Xiaoyao, I didn't expect that even the divine sequence chains couldn't kill you. You've really exceeded our expectations, Chtarastra said calmly. The 4 of them were divided into 4 directions, east, west, north, and south, surrounding Jun Xiaoyaro in the middle. To them, Jun Xiaoyaro was like a turtle in a jar, a beast trapped in a cage. It was impossible for him to escape or resist. They also wanted to see how the invincible Skypride, who had dominated the Emperor Road all the way to the Ancient Road Ultimate Road, would look like when he became a prisoner. To their surprise, Jun Xiaoyao's expression was very calm, without a single ripple. 4 heavenly kings of the Xian Ting, I, the Son of God, haven't found the Xian Ting yet, but you've found me first. It seems that this boat of destiny is a big gift that you've prepared for me, the Son of God, Jun Xiaoyaro said. Previously, when Jun Xiaoyaro learned that the boat of destiny was built by the ancient Supreme Xian Ting Almighty, he had some guesses in his heart. However, he was not sure. Later on, when he came to the boat of destiny, the 4 heavenly kings sealed their auras and hid in the dark. However, with Jun Xiaoyao's sharp senses, not a trace of fluctuation could escape his senses. Jun Xiaoyaro was immediately able to confirm that it was a trap set up to lure him in. But Jun Xiaoyaro didn't care and entered the game leisurely. This was because he indeed needed the world of creation's world's origin in the boat of creation. As for scheming, once a person's strength had reached a certain extreme. In front of him, all schemes seemed pale and powerless. However, the only thing that Jun Xiaoyaro had not expected was that they could actually control the nomological laws of the boat of destiny. However, this only surprised Jun Xiaoyaro a little. Everything was still under his control. Wrong, we didn't set this trap for you. It was Lord Jiyu Tiezi who set this trap for you. Heavenly King Zhengzhang sneered. Jiyu Tiezi, the descendant of the Fuxi immortal lineage? Jun Xiaoyaro asked calmly. The rise of the Jun family was destined to clash with the Supreme Xian Ting. Jun Xiaoyaro didn't plan to deal with the Supreme Xian Ting so early. However, the Supreme Xian Ting came to him first. That Jiyu Tiezi should be one of the 7 defiant emperors, Jun Xiaoyaro said calmly. It seems that you are not stupid. Lord Gu Tiezi has the supreme Fushi sacred physique and has received the inheritance of the great emperor. In the future, he is destined to lead the supreme Xian Ting to rise again. And you, Jun Xiaoyaro, should sacrifice yourself and let Lord Gu Tiezi get the heavenly crown, Heavenly King Guangmu said coldly. Jun Xiaoyaro suddenly laughed when he heard this. How can you still laugh? The four heavenly kings frowned. Jun Xiaoyaro sighed and said with a smile, go back and tell Gu Tiezi that there are exceptions to defying the heavens. Those who defy me have no chance of survival. Those who oppose me are all dead men. His words were deafening, causing heaven and earth to shake and the sky to tremble. How dare you? How dare you? The four heavenly kings' expressions changed and they shouted loudly. Then, they directly activated the bronze disc. In an instant, the heavenly Tao's rules condensed and turned into substantial shackles that were imposed on Jun Xiaoyao's body. The heavenly Tao's shackles were extremely heavy. When an ordinary saint put it on, his physical body would directly collapse. However, Jun Xiaoyao's sacred physique released light, and there was a divine glow circulating. His vitality was like a dragon, and he withstood it. However, his dharmic powers and physical strength were restrained to the extreme. He couldn't use much of his strength at all. Outside the boat of destiny, everyone who saw this scene sighed. Although the four heavenly kings were very strong, if Jun Xiaoyaro was in his peak state, he might be able to fight against the four of them at the same time. However, Jun Xiaoyaro was restricted by the heavenly Tao's rules in the boat of destiny and couldn't use his strength at all. How could he be a match for the four heavenly kings? Yang Rumeng, Xia Bingyun, Yu Chanhuan, and the others were extremely worried and anxious. I believe in the master's strength. Yi Yu's eyes were filled with confidence. He already worshipped Jun Xiaoyaro unconditionally and thought that Jun Xiaoyaro was invincible. Of course, there were also bystanders who sneered, such as Yuan Kandaozi. It seems that the legend of the son of God of the Jun family is going to be shattered today. A great battle began in the boat of destiny. You're just a turtle in a jar. How dare you talk nonsense? Let me suppress you. Among the four heavenly kings, Heavenly King Zhongjong, who was wearing a blue armor, was the first to attack. He held a blue cloud sword in his hand. The blade was 6 feet long, and the blade spat out a blue sword aura that seemed to be able to cut the sky in half. Kill. Heavenly King Zhangzhang's sword fell and the sword aura was vast and mighty, like a blue galaxy. Jun Xiaoyaro used his fingers as a sword and performed the sword art of the immortal slayer. The sword aura was mighty and powerful, and the terrifying scene of an immortal god falling appeared. Jun Xiaoyaro didn't retreat at all, but Heavenly King Zhongjong grunted and took a few steps back with a look of disbelief on his face. How is that possible? Are you not suppressed by the chains of rules? Heavenly King Zhongjong couldn't believe it. That's impossible. The other three heavenly kings also widened their eyes. The power of the chains of rules was on Jun Xiaoyaro and it was as heavy as 10,000 pounds, restricting his physical strength and dharma power. Theoretically, Jun Xiaoyaro could only use 30% of his strength at most. Could it be? Heavenly King Jtarastra gasped when he thought of a certain possibility. The only possibility was that even if Jun Xiaoyaro only had 30% of his strength left, it was enough to crush Heavenly King Zhongjong. I don't believe it. Again, Heavenly King Zhongjong roared. He was one of the top outlawed Skyprides, and he had once beheaded an outlawed Skypride with his blue cloud sword. Given his level of training, there was no way he would have been unable to take on Jun Xiaoyaro, whose powers had been suppressed to the extreme. Fool. Jun Xiaoyaro did not bother to say anything else. He stepped forward and performed the Kuan Peng's extreme speed. His figure instantly appeared in front of Heavenly King Zhongjong and performed the Kuan Peng's grand divine power. He waved his hand like a Kuan Peng swinging its tail, stirring up endless waves of runes. His casual attack caused the void to explode, and it was powerful enough to shatter mountains. Fat. Heavenly King Zhongjong held his sword in front of him, but he felt an unparalleled force of divine power coming at him, and he could not help but vomit blood. Many of his bones were broken, and half of his body was on the verge of collapse. The surface of his body was covered in blood and cracks. Chapter 679. Everyone inside and outside the boat of destiny fell silent at the sight of this. Zhun Xiaoyao, who had been suppressed by the world's laws and only had 30% of his strength left, was able to easily defeat Heavenly King Zhengzhang, one of the 4 heavenly kings. It was hard to believe what they were seeing. The 4 heavenly kings are the best of the best among the outlawed sky prides. Each of them has killed an outlawed sky pride before. But now, they can't even defeat the Zhun family's son of God, who only has 30% of his strength left. This scene refreshed everyone's understanding of the world. They now had a new understanding of Zhun Xiaoyao's title of invincible among the younger generation. Primal Silkworm Daoist was also dumbfounded. He began to feel an inexplicable panic in his heart. Inside the boat of destiny, Zhun Xiaoyao's expression was calm. This situation was within his expectations. That was because Zhun Xiaoyao had never used his full strength when fighting against people of the same age. At most, he would only use a fraction of his strength. Although his strength was now restricted by the rule's shackles, the 4 heavenly kings could not do anything to him with what little strength he had left. Die. Heavenly King Verpka, one of the 4 heavenly kings, suddenly attacked. He held the gold and silver maces in his hands and struck the void, his magical energy surging. The gold and silver maces seemed to have turned into a pair of gold and silver dragons, roaring at Zhun Xiaoyao. Zhun Xiaoyao turned around, lightning flashing between his fingers. Bolts of lightning condensed into stars, suspended in the void, and bombarded Heavenly King Verpka. This was the lightning star transformation technique. Every time a star exploded, a monstrous amount of lightning would surge out. It was not inferior to the lightning tribulation that descended from the sky before. Fart. Heavenly King Verpka was also repelled, blood flowing from his mouth. As a result, the remaining 2 heavenly kings could no longer sit still. Previously, they thought that they could easily kill Zhun Xiaoyao, who was suppressed by the world's laws. Now, it seemed that they were too naive. How could Zhun Xiaoyao, who was known as the invincible legend of the younger generation, be so easily tricked by them? Zhun Xiaoyao, don't be so arrogant. Heavenly King Poliwen made his move as well, summoning a primordial chaos umbrella. The umbrella opened, and it was as if the heavens were pressing down. Clouds were faintly discernible, stars were rising and falling, and primordial energy was surging. It was as if it encompassed an entire world, pressing down on Zhun Xiaoyao, wanting to suppress him within. Zhun Xiaoyao's qi pierced through the galaxy, and the true body of the immemorial divine elephant appeared, turning into a world-suppressing divine elephant. Its huge body was bigger than a galaxy. The divine elephant true body looked up to the sky and let out a long howl. He used the divine elephant sky-crumbling tackle and charged towards the chaos umbrella. The primordial chaos umbrella, which was as large as the heavens, was directly knocked over, emitting a rumbling sound. Heavenly King Poliwen was also affected and spat out blood. Jatarastra's face darkened when he saw this. He played the jade peeper in his hand. The rainbow-colored sound wave spread out. Not only did this sound wave suppress Zhun Xiaoyao's dharmic powers and divine power, but it also suppressed Zhun Xiaoyao's dharmic powers. Furthermore, it was actually supporting the cultivation realms of the other 3 heavenly kings. Their auras rose again, and the source of their dharmic powers erupted like a volcano. Together with Jtarastra, the 4 of them pressed down on Zhun Xiaoyao. In other words, the 4 heavenly kings were giving it their all. The 4 of them had never joined forces to deal with another prodigy. Even outlawed sky prides were not qualified to make them do this. However, this was all they could do now. Otherwise, they would not be able to suppress Zhun Xiaoyao. The emerald cloud sword in Heavenly King Zhengzhang's hand emitted millions of emerald rays of light. Runes flickered, and Daoist precepts intertwined. Heavenly King Verpka's eyes surged with divine light and shot out. At the same time, he lashed out with the gold and silver maces in his hand. Heavenly King Poliwen held the chaos umbrella and pressed down again. This was an extremely terrifying divine weapon. When it fell, even outlawed sky prides would be sucked into it. Jtarastra activated his jade peeper, and destructive sound waves spread out. In other words, the 4 heavenly kings attacked without holding back. Even the supreme outlawed skyprides had to be cautious of the energy waves that erupted. A dazzling light erupted in that area. Various great Tao runes poured out, and Tao laws intertwined. The ground crumbled, and the wind and clouds surged. Outside the Ark of Destiny, all skyprides were watching with rapt attention. Was it the 4 heavenly kings, the Orion god, or the invincible legends? Boom! An incomparably terrifying power surged out like a volcanic eruption. It was the energy of life and death. Jun Xiaoyaro activated his Deluo immortal body and performed the heavenly death wheel. The Tao laws of life and death intertwined in his hands, as if he was the god of life and death who ruled the world with one hand. On the surface of his body, a wisp of immortal qi of life and death appeared, supporting Jun Xiaoyao's power. In the face of this absolutely terrifying divine ability, even the 4 heavenly kings' expressions changed. They also activated their own immortal qi. Each of them had 5 wisps of immortal qi, which was extremely terrifying. If not for the fact that this era was the era of great battles, it would be too dazzling. If this was the ancient road of the previous era, the 4 heavenly kings would definitely be able to dominate. All schemes will only seem foolish and laughable in the face of absolute power. Jun Xiaoyaro activated the creation of life and death. He reached out and grabbed, and the power of life and death surged. Heavenly King Zhengzhang was directly hit, and let out an inhuman roar. At first, his body suddenly expanded, as if his life force had become too exuberant. Then, it suddenly collapsed and caved in. His internal organs and bones were turned into minced meat, and even his primordial spirit was crushed. A heavenly king had fallen. Jun Xiaoyaro did not hesitate. A dazzling divine order chain flew out from between his brows and turned into a golden short sword. It was the primitive Emperor Dao sword, and it shot toward Heavenly King Verpkares' head. Slash. The sword pierced through his head. Heavenly King Verpkares' primordial spirit was instantly penetrated. Then, his body was also wrapped in the power of life and death. It expanded and collapsed, destroying his life structure. Dhritarashtra used the Ark of Destiny's laws to suppress it. Heavenly King Dwaowen's expression was extremely horrified, and he could not help but roar. Dhritarashtra's face was also pale, and he hurriedly summoned the bronze disc. Suddenly, tens of thousands of divine order chains shot down from the sky above. At the same time, various rule shackles appeared, trying to imprison Jun Xiaoyaro. He wanted to use the power of the Ark of Destiny to completely kill Jun Xiaoyaro. Originally, according to Gu Tiez's orders, they were to suppress Jun Xiaoyaro and then bring him back. But now, their lives were in danger, so how could they care about the mission? Tens of thousands of divine order chains rushed toward Jun Xiaoyaro, and the rule shackles appeared. This could be said to be a fatal blow, and no one could resist it. After all, the rule shackles in the Ark of Destiny were left behind by the emperors of old. Although it had been damaged a lot with the passage of time, it was still not something that a saint could withstand. Jun Xiaoyaro, die! Dhritarashtra and Heavenly King Dwaowen's eyes were red with deep hatred. They wanted to avenge their other 2 companions. Outside the Ark of Destiny, all the prodigies also held their breaths, waiting for the result. However, most of them thought that Jun Xiaoyaro was really done for. It was easy for the rule shackles left behind by the emperors of old to kill a saint. Xiaoyao, young master, Yang Rumeng, Xia Bingyun, Yu Chanhuan, Tai Yin Jade Hair, and the others all looked anxious and worried. And in the next moment, time seemed to have stopped. All the prodigies' eyes widened silently. In the Ark of Destiny, Jun Xiaoyaro slowly raised his hand, and an incomparably vast and turbulent origin energy spread out. It was accompanied by a mysterious rule shackles. This was the power of the inner universe, the power of the inner universe that belonged to Jun Xiaoyaro. This power was like an inverted jade bowl, enveloping and protecting Jun Xiaoyaro as if it had turned into his own world, isolated from the world of the Ark of Destiny. All the divine chains of order and the rule shackles were unable to move an inch when they landed on this power. The terrifying and mysterious power that Jun Xiaoyaro had used could actually block the rule shackles left behind by the emperors of old. How is this possible? Dhritarashtra and Heavenly King Dwaowen's minds seemed to have stopped. They could not think at all and could not understand what was happening in front of them. At that moment, Jun Xiaoyaro stood in that independent world as if he was the only god in heaven and earth. I am the heavens, and the heavens are me. The place where I stand is impenetrable by gods and demons, and impenetrable by all rule shackles. Jun Xiaoyao's voice was vast and mighty, like an ancient god whispering, creating his own world and evolving heaven and earth. At that moment, everyone was shocked. For a better reading experience, please visit the mobile version of the website, Book 5975. Chapter 680. The geniuses could not describe what they were witnessing with words. Jun Xiaoyaro felt like he was standing at the center of the heavens and earth. He was the ruler of the heavens and earth. The heavens and earth bowed before him. Jun Xiaoyaro was like the ancient deity that had created the heavens and earth. His body was supporting the heavens and earth, forming a world of his own. This was an incomparably shocking scene that should not appear on a saint at all. If someone were to tell them that Jun Xiaoyaro was a martial monarch, most people would believe it. The reason being that his aura was too shocking. Jtarastra and the others were minuscule before Jun Xiaoyaro, like ants under the feet of an ancient deity. How is this possible? What kind of power is this? Jtarastra and Heavenly King Duowen were about to lose their minds. They could not understand it at all. Was it really something that a saint could control? It did not make any sense. Don't try to figure out what the Son of God is capable of with your minuscule thoughts. Jun Xiaoyaro glanced down at the two and said coldly, "Impossible, these are the rules of the heavens and earth left by the martial monarch. Even if they are incomplete, they are still not something a saint like you can stand a chance against." Jtarastra yelled and activated the copper disc again. Countless chains of order poured down together with the lightning, yet they were unable to break through the barrier. Jun Xiaoyao's eyes flickered with a hint of disdain. He was looking at Jtarastra like he was looking at a clown. It was true that the world inside the boat of fortune was the work of the martial monarch. Firstly, the rules of the heavens and earth that the martial monarch had left behind were incomplete after such a long time. It was less than 1/100th of what it was at its peak. Secondly, Jun Xiaoyao's inner universe was a law of his own, a law of his own. The rules that the martial monarch had left behind were borrowing the Tao of the Nine Heavens immortal realm instead of his own. One had forged his own Tao, while the other had borrowed the Tao of the Nine Heavens immortal realm. It was obvious which one was better. For emperors hunting deities, hey, it's not that easy to kill a god. Jun Xiaoyaro wore an icy grin. Let's go. Without the slightest hesitation, Jtarastra and Vaishravana retreated rapidly and flew into the distance. Jun Xiaoyao's strength had not only far exceeded their expectations, but it had also far exceeded Gu Tiez's expectations. You want to leave? How is that possible? 4 little heavenly kings, just wipe them out, Jun Xiaoyaro said indifferently in a casual tone. Killing the 4 little heavenly kings, whose names shook the ancient road, was as easy as killing a few ants. He raised his hand, and a ray of light that seemed to have been carved out from the chaos shot out. It was Genesis, light of God. As the light exploded, a part of the world was annihilated. Jtarastra and Vaishravana didn't even have the chance to scream before their bodies and souls were obliterated by the blinding light. Not even a speck of ash was left behind. At this point, the 4 heavenly kings of Xianting were all dead. The world inside the Ark of Destiny fell silent. Outside the Boat of Destiny, it was also dead silent. Only the sound of some elites swallowing their saliva could be heard. The 4 heavenly kings of Xianting died just like that. Not only did the 4 of them attack at the same time, but they also relied on the suppression of the laws of heaven and earth on the Boat of Destiny. In the end, they were still no match for the Jun family's Son of God. They didn't even have the ability to injure the Jun family's Son of God. After a brief moment of silence, there was an uproar that soared into the sky. Today, they had seen what it meant to be truly invincible among the younger generation. In the past, when you told me that someone could break through the entire ancient road, I didn't believe it. But now, after seeing the Jun family's Son of God, I believe it, a genius said in a daze. Shock, surprise, admiration, and admiration. Many emotions appeared on the faces of all the elites. Yang Ayu Meng, Xia Bingyun, Yu Chanhuan, and the other girls were all smiling, completely relieved. I told you, young master is invincible. Yi Yu also clenched his fists, his eyes filled with fanatical admiration. On the other side, Yuan Kandaozi was completely dumbfounded. He had seen the invincible power of the 9 transformations celestial silkworm in his family. But now, after seeing Zhun Xiaoyao's performance, his heart was slightly shaken. Could the 9 transformations celestial silkworm defeat Zhun Xiaoyao? At that moment, Yuan Kandaozi suddenly felt a sense of danger. He glanced around and found that Yang Yu Meng was coldly looking at him. Yi Yu, Xia Bingyun, Yu Chanhuan, the 4 forbidden Taoists, and the others also looked unfriendly. Everyone! Yuan Kandaozi's back was covered in cold sweat. Didn't you say that you wanted to suppress me? Yang Rumeng gritted her teeth, her jade-like hands clenched into fists, making cracking sounds. If it weren't for her extreme anger, Yang Rumeng wouldn't have called him mommy. Obviously, Yuan Kandaozi had completely angered her. What happened next was needless to say. The consequences of angering a woman were terrifying. Yuan Kandaozi was surrounded by Yang Yu Meng and the others. With a final scream, he died with hatred. Then, Zhun Xiaoyao's consciousness came from the boat of destiny. Yi Yu, you and the others, come in. Yi Yu and the others' eyes lit up as they entered. Zhun Xiaoyao had obtained the bronze disc, which was the control hub, so he could naturally control the entire boat of destiny. It could be said that the ancient prince's plan to take down Zhun Xiaoyao was a huge loss. It was a double whammy. Not only did he lose the 4 heavenly kings, but he also lost the boat of destiny. Seeing Yang Rumeng and the others enter the boat of destiny, the other geniuses in the outside world could only look on with envy. It seems that all the opportunities in the boat of destiny will belong to the Zhun family's son of God. I'm so envious of the son of God's followers. Not to mention the ordinary cultivators, even the famous geniuses were full of envy right now. The identity of Zhun Xiaoyao's follower was a supreme honor. If I can follow the son of God, even if it's just being a maid, I'd be willing. A peerless female cultivator sighed and was very envious of Yang Rumeng, Xia Bingyun, and the others. On the other side, Yi Yu and the others entered the boat of destiny and arrived at the core area. Zhun Xiaoyao was dressed in white and stood quietly in the void, looking very calm. It was impossible to tell that he had just gone through a great battle. Yi Yu's eyes were full of fanatical worship. As for Yang Yu Meng, Xia Bingyun, and the other girls, their beautiful eyes couldn't help but flash with extraordinary splendor. Zhun Xiaoyao's performance just now was really shocking. He was like a peerless Prince Charming. Even Yu Chanhuan, who had only known Zhun Xiaoyao for a short time, had a strange look in her eyes. Before, she thought that Yi Yu was already outstanding enough. Now it seemed that it was because he followed an even more outstanding master. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Zhun Xiaoyao said, "This boat of destiny is full of spirit qi and is very suitable for cultivation. I'm going to cultivate in seclusion here, and you can also cultivate here. In addition, I've already obtained the core of the boat of destiny. All the resources and treasures in the boat of destiny will belong to us. After I'm done, I'll give the core of the boat of destiny to Xia Bingyun. The Xia family will be in charge of the boat of destiny in the future. It'll be convenient for you to transport resources and communicate with the Emperor's palace." With just a few words, Zhun Xiaoyao had already arranged everything in an orderly fashion. Xia Bingyun couldn't help but be happy. The opportunities in the boat of destiny were definitely a huge amount of wealth. Even the rich Xia family would be tempted. She didn't expect that the Xia family would receive such benefits without contributing anything after joining Zhun Xiaoyao. Xia Bingyun was a little embarrassed and couldn't help but ask, "Young master, the boat of destiny is so precious. Is it really okay to give it to the Xia family?" Zhun Xiaoyao waved his hand and said, "The Xia family is also a part of the Emperor's palace. As the master of the Emperor's palace, this reward is nothing." No matter how precious the boat of destiny was, it was nothing in Zhun Xiaoyao's eyes. "Thank you, young master." Xia Bingyun bowed with joy. The Xia family had followed the right master. For a better reading experience, please visit the mobile version of the website. Chapter 681. Everyone proceeded with their duties. Those who were supposed to cultivate in seclusion went into seclusion. Those who were supposed to search for fortunate encounters went into seclusion. After all, the entire boat of fortune was under Zheng Xiaoyao's control. All kinds of ferocious beasts had already fallen under the previous heavenly tribulation. Yi Yu and the others went on to search for fortunate encounters and cultivate in seclusion. Zheng Xiaoyao had also obtained the origin energy of the world of fortune. Even though it's incomplete, it's still the rules left behind by the martial monarch. It's still useful as a reference. Once I've comprehended it, I can dismantle and refine it and merge it with my inner universe, Zheng Xiaoyao murmured. This time, the inner universe had finally shown its true strength. It was only at the most basic stage, yet it was already strong enough to resist the rules left behind by the martial monarch. If he continued to build it, Zheng Xiaoyao's strength would continue to grow as the inner universe grew stronger. In the end, if the inner universe was bigger than the 9 heavens immortal realm, wouldn't Zheng Xiaoyao become a god of creation? Zheng Xiaoyao saw a wide path that he had never seen before. There was a vast sky before him. That being said, it would take an unimaginable amount of time, effort, and energy to expand the inner universe to the size of the 9 heavens immortal realm. It seems like I'll have to look for opportunities to devour all kinds of energy, materials, and the origin energy of the world to speed up the evolution of the inner universe, Zheng Xiaoyao pondered. He felt like he had turned into a koan. He had to keep devouring and evolving. While Zheng Xiaoyao was immersed in his thoughts, a faint voice suddenly appeared. Master. Zheng Xiaoyao collected his thoughts and glanced at the voice. It was Yu Chanhuan. She did not go into seclusion to search for fortunate encounters like the others. She purposely stayed behind, as if she had something to say to Zheng Xiaoyao. The woman in front of him had delicate brows and eyes. Her lips were red, and her teeth were white. She had an attractive face, and Linglong's curvaceous body. Many men would fall for her combination. What's wrong? Zheng Xiaoyao asked. Chanhuan just wants to thank young master. If it wasn't for young master's help, I might have. Yu Chanhuan hesitated. When she thought of the possible consequences, she felt a lingering fear. There's no need for that. Even if it's for Yi Yu, I'll still do it, Zheng Xiaoyao said calmly. When he had subdued Yi Yu, he had already promised him that he would help him deal with the Sun God Mountain. Now, he was merely collecting some interest. Later on, he still had to kill the remaining 5 crown princes with Yi Yu. Then, after completing the ancient ultimate road, he would go and deal with Sun God Mountain. No matter what, it was young master who saved Chanhuan. However, Chanhuan has nothing to repay him with. If there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to tell me. Chanhuan will do her best to satisfy you. Toward the end, Yu Chanhuan's voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. Her sparkling earlobes and jade neck were dyed with a moving layer of crimson. Her delicate head was also slightly lowered, as if she didn't dare to look at Zheng Xiaoyao. Her words were very straightforward. It wasn't a hint, but a clear statement. The 10 princes of Jinwu and the others would never have thought that this woman with a strong personality, who would rather die than submit, she actually showed such an attitude of letting another man do whatever he wanted. Of course, this wasn't because Yu Chanhuan was degrading herself or giving up on herself. It was because she had no other choice. The Moon God Palace was destroyed. Except for the Taiyin jade hair, almost everyone by her side was dead. She alone couldn't deal with the 10 princes of Jinwu and the others, let alone deal with the Sun God Mountain. Therefore, she had to rely on someone. It was very helpless, but there was no other way. However, Yu Chanhuan was also a proud woman. No matter how difficult it was, she wouldn't be reduced to kneeling to an ordinary man. However, things were different with Zheng Xiaoyao. He had a handsome face, a detached personality, invincible strength, and a strong background. Such a man, not to mention the current Yu Chanhuan, if it was before when she was still the holy maiden of the Moon God Palace, she would also be tempted. That was why Zheng Xiaoyao was the best and only choice for her. Besides, Zheng Xiaoyao had saved her and the Taiyin jade hair. But Zheng Xiaoyao had no reason to take care of them again and again. Hearing Yu Chanhuan's words, Zheng Xiaoyao wasn't surprised. Yu Chanhuan was indeed very attractive. She had a pharaoh-like face, a devilish figure, and the physique of the world's best furnace. She also had a famous weapon that made men go crazy. It could be said that if it was any other man, they would not be able to resist this temptation. Not only could he experience the joy of the world, but he could also improve his strength. It was simply perfect. Moreover, a woman like Yu Chanhuan could arouse the desire to conquer in a man's heart. Yu Chanhuan, in your eyes, this son of God is this kind of person. Jun Xiaoyaro smiled casually. Chanhuan doesn't dare. Yu Chanhuan hurriedly bowed. Actually, you are right. This son of God is indeed not a moralist. It is impossible to say that I am not interested in the holy body of Taiyin at all, Jun Xiaoyaro said. This was nothing. It was normal. Jun Xiaoyaro was not the kind of hypocritical moralist who kept talking about benevolence, righteousness, and morality. Jun Xiaoyao's words didn't make Yu Chanhuan's impression of him worse. Instead, it became better. This was because in the past, Yu Chanhuan had encountered many people who appeared dignified on the surface but were dirty and filthy on the inside. In contrast, Jun Xiaoyao's calmness made Yu Chanhuan have a better impression of him. However, if I really did that, I would not be much different from the 10 princes of Jinwu. Jun Xiaoyaro said. No, this has nothing to do with you. Chanhuan is willing to do it, Yu Chanhuan hurriedly retorted. Then, she realized her attitude and immediately blushed. Why did it feel like she was madly chasing after Jun Xiaoyaro? Let's not talk about this now. I do need something from you, Jun Xiaoyaro said with a smile. Yu Chanhuan's heart raced like a little deer. What did he need from her? The holy scripture of Taiyin, Jun Xiaoyaro said. So it's this. Yu Chanhuan didn't know why, but there was a trace of disappointment in her heart. The holy scripture of Taiyin was a secret of the Moon God Palace. However, now that the Moon God Palace was gone, there was no need to follow the rules. Jun Xiaoyaro had saved her life, and a scroll of mystical scripture was nothing. Yu Chanhuan directly handed the holy scripture of Taiyin to Jun Xiaoyaro. All right, you should also go and cultivate. This son of God will not ignore the matter of the Sun God Mountain, Jun Xiaoyaro said. Thank you, young master. Chanhuan will take her leave. Yu Chanhuan bowed and turned to leave. When she left, Yu Chanhuan put her hand on her chest and murmured. Young master, whether you are willing or not, Chanhuan will always keep her first time for you. Yu Chanhuan made up her mind. The first time of the holy scripture of Taiyin was extremely effective. Although with Jun Xiaoyao's status, he might not take a fancy to her and might not even have anything to do with her. However, whether he was willing or not was Jun Xiaoyao's business. Whether he wanted to keep it or not was Yu Chanhuan's business. She had already decided to follow Jun Xiaoyaro for the rest of her life. Her everything, including her body, naturally belonged to Jun Xiaoyaro. Chapter 682. Jun Xiaoyaro was interested in the Taiyin immortal scripture. It was because he had an idea in mind. In his inner universe, yin and yang needed to change, as well as the sun and moon. Once he had comprehended the Taiyin immortal scripture, he would obtain the Taiyang immortal scripture from the 10 princes of Jinwu. That way, he would be able to master the power of yin and yang, allowing the sun and moon to change in his inner universe, accelerating its transformation. Jun Xiaoyao even had the ambition to integrate the power of yin and yang, the power of reincarnation, the power of creation, the power of chaos, and other supreme powers into his inner universe in the future. At that time, the inner universe would expand at an accelerated rate, and energy would erupt, causing Jun Xiaoyao's strength to skyrocket. Of course, this was just an idea. Whether it was the power of yin and yang, the power of reincarnation, the power of creation, or the power of chaos, they were all extremely rare energies. Jun Xiaoyao had only begun to control the power of reincarnation and the power of creation. After this, he would pay more attention to collect all kinds of energy to fill his inner universe. I'll go into seclusion in the boat of destiny first, and comprehend and refine the world's origin left behind by the great emperor. Jun Xiaoyao entered the depths of the core area and began to cultivate in seclusion. At the same time, all kinds of things that happened in the boat of destiny began to spread like wildfire. 5 of the 10 golden crow-crown princes, 2 holy sons of the Gulen sect, Yuan Silkworm Daoist of the celestial Silkworm Valley, and the 4 heavenly kings of the Xian Ting had all died in the boat of destiny. This was definitely a major event that was enough to shake the entire ancient road. The 10 golden crow-crown princes were famous throughout the ancient road, and they were known not to be provoked. Provoking one of them was equivalent to provoking 10 outlawed sky prides. Now, half of them had died in the boat of destiny. As an ancient sect with a long history, the Gulen sect worshipped the mythical Great Emperor, the true Lord of Gulen. The 8 holy sons of the Gulen sect were also famous. In the end, 4 of them died because of Jun Xiaoyao. Yuan Silkworm Daoist of the celestial Silkworm Valley. Although he was not as strong as the first 2, he was also a top-notch sky pride of the celestial Silkworm Valley. Not to mention that the celestial Silkworm Valley had produced an invincible 9 transformations celestial silkworm. In the end, Xian Ting was needless to say. The 4 little heavenly kings were the strongest young geniuses in the Xian Ting, excluding the successors of the immortal orthodoxes. In the end, the 4 of them attacked together. Even with the suppression of the Ark of Good Fortune's laws, they were unable to harm Jun Xiaoyao at all. Instead, they were killed. This was enough to make countless people stupefied, and it would spread throughout the entire ancient path. Then, someone spread the news. The Boat of Fortune was originally a trap set up by Jiyu Tiezi, the successor of Fuxi immortal lineage in the Xian Ting, for Jun Xiaoyao. In the end, he suffered a double loss. The 4 little heavenly kings had fallen, and the Boat of Good Fortune, which contained endless opportunities, had been given to Jun Xiaoyao for nothing. Jiyu Tiezi of Fuxi immortal system became a laughingstock. A dignified descendant of an immortal orthodoxy actually suffered such a huge loss. It was enough to make him a laughingstock. Moreover, this also indirectly revealed that Jiyu Tiezi was one of the 7 rebellious emperors. TSK, I didn't expect the successor of Xian Ting to be one of the 7 rebellious emperors. Could it be that even God knows that the Jun family once had a conflict with the Xian Ting? Some of the old antiques were deep in thought. Some of them vaguely knew the secret. A long time ago, the Jun family had the ambition to replace the Xian Ting. And this era of great conflict was undoubtedly the most important time point. The Xian Ting and the Jun family were definitely in a fierce struggle. To a certain extent, the struggle between the successor of Xian Ting and Jun Xiaoyao was also a struggle between the Xian Ting and the Jun family. But isn't this a bit unfair? The Xian Ting has more than one immortal orthodoxy, but the Jun family only has one son of God. When the time comes, if the successors of various immortal orthodoxies join forces to deal with the son of God of the Jun family, even the son of God won't have it easy. Now that it's confirmed that Jiyu Tiezi of Fuxi immortal orthodoxy is one of the 7 rebellious emperors, I wonder if the princess of Empress Wa's immortal orthodoxy is another one? Many people were speculating. But one thing was certain, the following ancient road of ultimate would be even more turbulent, with undercurrents surging. In the depths of the ancient road of ultimate, on an ancient planet. In the depths of the ancient planet, there was a powerful young figure sitting cross-legged. Tens of thousands of feet deep underground, the pressure of the earth and the blazing power of the earth's core were enough to threaten a saint. But this young figure was sitting cross-legged peacefully, and was even absorbing the power of the exploding earth's core. As the successor of Fuxi immortal orthodoxy, Jiyu Tiezi's lousy move is a disgrace to the Xian Ting. The young man's tone was extremely cold, and he didn't seem to have much respect for Jiyu Tiezi. But Jiyu Tiezi is one of the 7 rebellious emperors. It seems that even the heavens approve of him. But it doesn't matter. In this generation, the successors of the Xian Ting's 9 immortal orthodoxies all have a chance to compete for the position of the Xian Ting's young emperor. As the successor of Xingtian immortal orthodoxy, how can I be weak? The young figure's eyes were burning with ambition. Meanwhile, on another ancient planet in the depths of the ancient road of ultimate. At an immortal spirit seaside overflowing with spiritual energy. A hazy silhouette in a flowery silk dress was cultivating. Around her, a shocking scene of thousands of birds bowing to her appeared. Jiyu Tiezi has taken a tumble this time. I wonder how he will deal with it. There's also Sister Ling Yang. She decisively rejected the marriage with Jiyu Tiezi, but it seems like she's going to marry her off to Jiyu Tiezi. And that son of God of the Jun clan. He's so impressive. I really want to see what kind of peerless figure he is. But it's really troublesome to make an enemy out of someone like him. The figure's voice was as crisp and pleasant as a lark's. However, it was just chattering. She seemed a little talkative. As the successor of the Jingwei Immortal Orthodoxy, I, Wei Qianqian, must work hard too. The Xingtian Immortal Orthodoxy and the Jingwei Immortal Orthodoxy were not the only ones. The successors of the other Immortal Orthodoxies had different reactions. At its peak, the 9 Immortal Orthodoxies of the Xian Ting controlled the 9 heavens immortal realms. Each immortal realm was controlled by a single Immortal Orthodoxy. However, the 9 Immortal Orthodoxies had split up after the Xian Ting's collapse. They had yet to reunite even now. In an ancient heavenly palace in the depths of the ancient road of ultimate, a figure with a terrifying aura was sitting with his legs crossed in a boundless light. Behind him, the runes of the 8 trigrams appeared as if they were manipulating the fortune of the heavens and earth. He was the successor of the Fuxi Immortal Orthodoxy, Jiyu Tiezi. Jiyu Tiezi did not lose his temper after learning about the death of the 4 heavenly kings. Instead, he wore a dark expression. Only a pair of deep eyes could be seen in the hazy light. The runes of the 8 trigrams flickered occasionally. I've indeed taken the wrong step. I already thought highly of Jun Xiaoyao, but I still underestimated him. I'm afraid the successors of the other immortal orthodoxies are laughing at me now, Jiyu Tiezi said with a cold grin. Among the Xian Ting, there was a competition for the position of the young emperor of the Xian Ting. The successors of the 9 immortal orthodoxies were all competitors. Meanwhile, 8 wisps of immortal qi suddenly appeared on the surface of Jiyu Tiezi's body. It was so shocking that it would shock everyone if word got out. Jiyu Tiezi had already cultivated 5 wisps of immortal qi before. After merging with the Emperor Seal of the 7 Defiant Sovereigns, he had 7 wisps of immortal qi. After receiving the inheritance of the Great Emperor, he cultivated until now and gained another wisp of immortal qi. Jiyu Tiezi was very confident that he could cultivate 9 wisps of immortal qi in the future. 9 wisps of immortal qi. Not many people had achieved it since ancient times. However, he had a high chance of achieving it. When I cultivate 9 wisps of immortal qi and reach the extreme number of 9, I'll make everyone understand, Jun Xiaoyao is just an ant in front of me. For a better reading experience, please visit the mobile version of the website, Book 5975. Chapter 683. Jiyu Tiezi's Dao heart was close to perfection. He wouldn't be shaken by such a small setback. Right, send a message to Ling Yang. Jiyu Tiezi took out a jade slip as if he'd thought of something. In next to no time, a clear and cold female voice that was pleasant like the sound of nature sounded out from the jade slip. Jiyu Tiezi, congratulations. You've made a name for yourself on the ancient road. Jiyu Tiezi chuckled. Yuan, you're still as merciless as ever. Don't use such intimate words to address me. Don't forget, you and I are also competitors for the position of Xian Ting's young emperor, Ling Yang said coldly. Looks like you're not surprised by my failure. Jiyu Tiezi didn't mind Ling Yang's tone. That Jun Xiaoyao was able to kill a half-step Supreme Saint before, and he was even able to withstand 3 moves from the Saint Lord. Even with the Boat of Fortune, it would be difficult for those 4 good-for-nothings to succeed, Ling Yuan said calmly. The 4 little heavenly kings were just trash in Ling Yang's eyes. Ling Yang, you know that Jun Xiaoyao isn't easy to deal with. I've long suggested that Immortal Lineage Fuxi and Immortal Lineage Empress Wa unite by marriage. Ling Yang interrupted Jiyu Tiezi before he could finish. No need to say more. Haven't we already made a decision? I'll marry Fairy Yuan to you, Ling Yang said. Jiyu Tiezi took a deep breath and calmed down. Ling Yang, you should know that our union is the joint will of Immortal Lineage Fuxi and Immortal Lineage Empress Wa. When the time comes, our 2 immortal heritages will be able to suppress the other immortal heritages and reorganize the Xian Ting to become the ruling immortal heritages. That's right. That's why this consort took a step back and allowed Fairy Yuan to marry you. Otherwise, do you think this consort would be willing to give her to you? Ling Yang said indifferently. If Jun Xiaoyaro were here, he would definitely be surprised. His guess was that the person in charge of the heavenly maiden Yuan destiny was none other than Princess Ling Yang of Empress Wa's lineage. Ling Yang, Fairy Kite. The relationship between the two of them was worth pondering. All right then. Once I succeed in my cultivation, I will marry Fairy Maiden Yuan, Jiu Tiezi said. On the other side, Ling Yang directly cut off the call. The smile on Jiu Tiezi's face disappeared. His face was expressionless. Heavenly Maiden Yuan has a part of the power of Empress Wa's saintly body. If my Fushi saintly body absorbs it, it will help me succeed. When the time comes. Ling Yang, this consort's son will conquer you. As the princess of Empress Wa's lineage, Ling Yang possessed the saintly body of Empress Wa. Her identity, appearance, status, and strength were the noblest in the 9 heavens immortal realm. It was the glory of a man to conquer a woman like her. As for Fairy Yuan, she was only Ling Yang's shadow. The incident regarding the boat of fortune spread like wildfire on the ancient road of ultimate. Apart from the successors of the Xian Ting, the news spread like wildfire. The saints of the Gulan cult received the news as well. Each and every one of them felt indignant and wanted Jun Xiaoyaro to pay the price. However, Sheng Tianyi, the strongest among the saints of the 8 sacred factions, did not say anything. However, many people assumed Sheng Tianyi would not ignore the matter. After all, it was related to the reputation of the Gulan sect. As for the celestial Silkworm Valley, it was quiet. On the other hand, the 10 princes of Jinwu of the Sun God Mountain declared that they would kill Jun Xiaoyaro with their own hands. Their enemies were not the only ones who heard the news. Some of the people who were related to Jun Xiaoyaro also heard the news. In a certain ancient land of opportunity, a tall and slender figure was strolling leisurely with his hands behind his back. Chaotic light burst out of his eyes as he blinked. It was extremely terrifying, as if he was going to split the sky and earth. The Jun family's man of Polychoria is too powerful. Yeah, as expected of the Jun family's sequence number 1. If it weren't for the Jun family's son of God, the Jun family's man of Polychoria would shine brightly. Many sky prides around him were shocked. This handsome man was the Jun family's sequence number 1, the man of Polychoria, Jun Lingtsang. He was already an outlawed sky pride when he stepped on the ancient road and leaped through the Dragon's Gate. Now, his cultivation was even more unfathomable. Ordinary taboos could not resist him. There was even a saying on the ancient road of ultimate that the Jun family's 3 overlords. The 3 overlords referred to the Jun family's son of God, Jun Xiaoyaro, sequence number 1, Jun Lingtsang, and the ancient freak, Jun Moxiao. Cousin Xiaoyaro has caused quite a commotion. As his cousin, I can't fall behind. Jun Lingtsang smiled faintly. Jun Xiaoyaro had made quite a number of enemies. Although he was not afraid of anything, it was troublesome to have too many flies. As a member of the Jun family, Jun Lingtsang naturally could not stay out of it. When it was time for him to make a move, he would not hesitate. In the depths of the ancient road of ultimate, on the battlefield of an ancient planet, a young and handsome figure was casually walking on the battlefield. He held the Tianji umbrella in one hand and a wine gourd in the other. He drank from it from time to time. Divine light surged on the surface of his body. Behind him, golden chi soared into the sky and condensed into a golden canopy above his head. It was a display of imperial power. This was the Emperor's imperial canopy, the Emperor's imperial canopy. The identity of this person was obvious. It was the Jun family's ancient freak, Jun Moxiao, who lay drunk on the battlefield. I didn't expect the Xian Ting to make a move on Xiaoyaro before the Jun family has made a move. Although Jun Moxiao's expression was lazy, there was a sharp light in his eyes. Although the 9 great immortal heritages of the Xian Ting all have forbidden successors, Xiaoyaro is not the only one in the Jun family. Everyone believed that the 9 great immortal heritages of the Xian Ting all had forbidden successors. No matter how strong Jun Xiaoyaro was, it would be difficult for him to deal with them alone. However, One should not forget that Jun Xiaoyaro was not the only one in the Jun family. Jun Moxiao, Jun Lingcang, and the other sequences were not weak. If there was a conflict, it would not be Jun Xiaoyao's battle alone. They would also stand by Jun Xiaoyao's side. This was a battle between the successors of the immortal heritage and the sequences of the Jun family, on an ancient planet on the ancient road, by the shore of a spiritual lake. A dainty and beautiful girl was currently cultivating. She had bright eyes and white teeth. She was delicate and charming. Her pink face was sparkling, and her hair was tied into 2 ponytails. She looked like a jade carving. It was Jiang Luoli. Compared to before, Jiang Luoli did not change much except for her height. Her eyes were more quiet and reserved, and she was slightly more mature. Everyone would grow up. In a cruel place like the ancient road of ultimate, Jiang Luoli did not rely on external objects or the help of the Jiang family. Instead, she was cultivating alone. Her primordial spirit daoist body had been developed to the extreme. She was constantly breathing in and out a huge amount of spiritual energy from heaven and earth, like a walking immortal marrow mine. Compared to before, Jiang Luoli's eyes were more stable now. Luoli will not. I will only stand behind big brother Xiaoyaro and look at his back. Luoli will also grow up and become big brother Xiaoyao's good wife. I will not be weaker than big sister Shengyi. Jiang Luoli clenched her fists. She was very determined. After the incident with the divine fetus, Jiang Luoli also understood how deep Jiang Shengyi's feelings for Jun Xiaoyaro were. If she asked Jiang Shengyi to leave Jun Xiaoyaro again, even Jiang Luoli would feel that it was very selfish. However, a girl's heart was still jealous. She did not want Jun Xiaoyaro to ignore her existence. Even if my legs are short, as long as I run fast, I can catch up with big brother Xiaoyaro. Jiang Luoli raised her small face. Her starry eyes were resolute. She had transformed into a high-spirited girl. For a better reading experience, please visit the mobile version of the website, Book 5975. Chapter 684. In the depths of the ancient road, on a battlefield filled with spirit qi. Hundreds and thousands of prodigies were fighting over a great Tao spirit root. This spirit root revealed itself from a crack in the ground, emitting thousands of rays of light. Tao sounds rumbled, and laws of order intertwined. One could imagine that this was definitely an extraordinary item. If one refined it, they would have a great affinity with the Tao. It could even give people the feeling that it could transform into the Tao. This great Tao spirit root is mine. Dream on. No one is going to fight with me for it. Shouts and yells could be heard everywhere. Amidst this chaos, a beautiful figure in a snow-white robe flew over like a fairy. She looked ethereal, and Tao sounds rumbled. As the beautiful figure moved, flowers fell from the sky, and lotuses bloomed with every step. The divine lady of the Jiang family is here. Someone suddenly shouted. The entire noisy battlefield seemed to have calmed down. Many male prodigies couldn't help but look over with a hint of amazement and infatuation in their eyes. The divine lady of the Jiang family, Jiang Shengyi, who had a carnate Tao embryo, was definitely one of the most stunning goddesses on the ancient road. At that moment, although Jiang Shengyi was surrounded by divine radiance, one could vaguely see her true appearance. Her face was like a painting, her eyebrows were curved, and her eyes were like limpid autumn waters. Her snow-white hair danced in the wind, and her robe fluttered. She looked like a fairy who had descended to the mortal world. Her pure white body was tall and slender, and her curves were perfect under the snow-white robe. She had an otherworldly and beautiful aura, like a snow lotus on top of a mountain, untainted by dust. Everyone, this great Tao spirit root is very useful to Shengyi. I'm sorry. Jiang Shengyi spoke, and her voice was like an oriole flying out of a valley, moving people's hearts. No, it's just a great Tao spirit root. Just give it to Fairy Shengyi. That's right. I'll beat up whoever dares to fight with the divine lady of the Jiang family. With just a single sentence, a group of bootlickers came over to lick his boots. It couldn't be helped. Men naturally liked to show off in front of women, especially goddesses. Although many people knew that Jiang Shengyi had long been in love with Jun Xiaoyao, they still had to show it when it was time. Thank you, Everyone. Jiang Shengyi smiled calmly. Of course, it would be best if they could avoid using force. With her current strength, there was nothing for her to fear. However, just as Jiang Shengyi was about to harvest the great Tao spiritual root, suddenly, two silhouettes rushed out from the dense crowd. They unleashed terrifying moves, both of which were extremely powerful killing moves. After following me for so long, you finally can't help but make a move. Jiang Shengyi wasn't surprised. With a flick of her hand, hundreds and thousands of divine chains of the Grand Tao emerged and interweaved with each other, and they densely covered the surroundings like a spiderweb. Rumble. A huge explosion occurred here, and all kinds of magical power of runes poured out in torrents. How could this be? Who attacked the divine daughter of the Jiang clan? Some of the geniuses couldn't help but exclaim. Surrender. One of the two figures spoke, bringing out a moonfall bell, wishing to suppress Jiang Shengyi within. Celestial murder blade. The other figure brought out a sharp blade with dazzling starlight, carrying with it an aura that could cut down all the stars in the sky. You are the 13 bandits of the ancient road. Jiang Shengyi's eyes were cold. She also knew that the 13 bandits of the ancient road loved to rob geniuses of their bloodlines. However, she didn't expect that the 13 bandits would dare to target her. However, on second thought, the innate Taoist embryo was indeed very attractive. As long as our boss can refine your innate Taoist embryo, then suppress Jun Xiaoyao and devour his sacred body of the ancients, when that time comes, no one will be a match for our boss. These two were the moon-chopping bandit and the star-destroying bandit of the 13 bandits. Although the 13 bandits had already made a preliminary plan to deal with Jiang Shengyi before. However, Tarantula and the others were still in the midst of planning. The two of them couldn't wait any longer. Jun Xiaoyao had already killed 7 of the 13 bandits. This made the moon-chopping bandit and the star-destroying bandit full of anger. They also learned about the relationship between Jiang Shengyi and Jun Xiaoyao. Therefore, they couldn't help but want to directly attack. Jiang Shengyi didn't care before, but when she heard that they were going to rob Jun Xiaoyao of his sacred body of the ancients, she became furious. An extremely cold and murderous aura flowed out from Jiang Shengyi's eyes. Her temperament changed instantly, as if she had turned from a transcendent female immortal into a murderous immortal. How dare you plot against Xiaoyao? You are unforgivable. Jiang Shengyi activated the innate Taoist embryo, and endless divine chains of the Great Path appeared around her, piercing through the void. At the same time, a faint shadow of a female immortal could be seen between her eyebrows, emitting a hazy glow. Everyone on the battlefield was stunned. It was the first time they saw such a cold murderous aura from this beautiful fairy. Is it because of the son of God of the Jun family? For some reason, when they thought of this, many male geniuses felt jealous. In their hearts, the goddess they admired and were obsessed with was worried about the safety of another man. How is this possible? You're hiding it. Seeing Jiang Shengyi's cultivation aura, the moon-chopping bandit and the star-destroying bandit were in disbelief. This was completely different from the information they had received. At this moment, Jiang Shengyi stood on the clouds, her black hair and dress fluttering in the wind. She was obviously a peerless beauty, but at this moment, her temperament was like a murderous immortal, terrifying everyone. Cage of the Great Path, blade of cutting Tao. Jiang Shengyi's Taoist techniques were unparalleled. Many divine chains of the Great Path intertwined and formed a cage, trapping the moon-chopping bandit and the star-destroying bandit in it. Then, Taoist inscriptions appeared and condensed into a blade of cutting Tao, which swept towards the two. Their paths were completely shattered, which also meant that their vitality was extinguished. Boss, won't let you go, the moon-chopping bandit said with difficulty, his eyes bulging. The two bandits were dead. Seeing this scene, everyone around felt a chill in their hearts. This was not because the moon-chopping bandit and the star-destroying bandit were weak, but because Jiang Shengyi was too strong. The goddess of the Jiang family has mastered the use of the carnate Taoist embryo. Previously, some people said that Jiang Shengyi was just a flower vase by the son of God of the Jun family. Now it seems that they were wrong. I think the goddess of the Jiang family is comparable to the princess of Xianting and the others. Jiang Shengyi's performance amazed everyone. After obtaining the spiritual root of the Great Path, Jiang Shengyi left alone, leaving behind a sea of stunned gazes. After refining this spiritual root of the Great Path, the power of my carnate Taoist embryo will be further strengthened, Jiang Shengyi murmured. There was a ring on her finger. At this moment, the ring was emitting light. A hazy fairy figure appeared beside Jiang Shengyi. It was a mature woman in a fairy dress. "Master, why did you come out?" Jiang Shengyi asked. She had once found a ring in a place of opportunity. The ring contained this woman's remnant soul. This woman was the female leader of an ancient sacred ground. Her strength was unparalleled. What was even more coincidental was that the sect master was also a carnate Taoist embryo. Therefore, during this period of time, Jiang Shengyi had become stronger and stronger not only because of her own opportunities, but also because of the female leader's guidance. They were now master and disciple. "Who is Zhun Xiaoyao? Why do you have such a big reaction after hearing his name?" The beautiful female leader smiled faintly. Her face was full of gossip. It's my. Jiang Shengyi couldn't find the words for a moment. Her cheeks turned slightly red. Looking at Jiang Shengyi, who rarely revealed her feminine side, the beautiful female leader had a playful and teasing look on her face. "It can't be your man, right?" Jiang Shengyi's face turned even more fiery when she heard this. "Master, what are you saying?" Looking at the beautiful Jiang Shengyi, who seemed to be angry and shy at the same time, the beautiful female leader sighed in her heart. She had always observed Jiang Shengyi's behavior. She was calm and composed, neither arrogant nor impatient. She was mature and knowledgeable. But now, she was showing the rare side of a woman in love. This surprised the female leader. Jiang Shengyi's eyelashes were thick and long. She looked into the distance, exhaled softly, and said word by word. "He is the most important person in your disciple's heart. That's why your disciple must become stronger so that I can walk to his side and not let him be alone." Seeing Jiang Shengyi's expression suddenly become incomparably serious, the beautiful female leader sighed inwardly. Just what kind of peerless and extraordinary man could make this outstanding disciple of hers be so worried and willing to sacrifice herself for him? For a better reading experience, please visit the mobile version of the website, Book 5975. Chapter 685. Time passed, and another half a year passed in the blink of an eye. During this half a year, Zhun Xiaoyao had been in the depths of the boat of fate, comprehending the world's origin left behind by the great emperor. This was an extremely complicated task. The world's origin law constructed by the great emperor was extremely complex. It was simply wishful thinking for a saint to figure it out. However, Zhun Xiaoyao was different. His comprehension ability could be described as monstrous. Ordinary saints might not be able to comprehend even 1/10,000th of this origin even after 100 years. However, Zhun Xiaoyao completely comprehended it in just half a year. Then, Zhun Xiaoyao began to dismantle this world's origin and smelt it into his own inner universe. This did not mean that Zhun Xiaoyao incorporated the laws of the mystic realm into his inner universe. Instead, he used this origin as nourishment to nourish his inner universe. It was like putting firewood into a stove. The fire grew stronger and stronger, but the firewood turned into ashes. At a certain moment, Zhun Xiaoyao's body shook. He had completely refined this vast world of fortune's world's origin. In an instant, his inner universe began to expand violently again and continued to expand. Zhun Xiaoyao also felt that his aura was somewhat difficult to suppress. "It's time to break through," Zhun Xiaoyao thought to himself. Just as he was about to break through, there was suddenly a strange movement in Zhun Xiaoyao's spatial instrument. Zhun Xiaoyao frowned and took out one of the items. It was a transparent bottle. In the bottle, there were 5 or 6 drops of blood with a golden glow. It was the essence blood of the sacred body of the ancients. Upon closer inspection, one would find that there were traces of dark red spreading in the essence blood of the sacred body of the ancients. This was not a good sign. Could it be? Zhun Xiaoyao thought of a certain possibility, and his face darkened slightly. Something must have happened to the owner of the essence blood of the sacred body of the ancients. Although it was not to the extent of death, The situation was not good. It was likely that he was about to reach a dead end. The sacred palace of the ancients, the Conqueror Star. Jun Xiaoyaro muttered to himself. He had originally planned to slowly explore these secrets as he ventured deeper into the ancient path. It seemed like he didn't have much time left. If he delayed any longer, it would be too late. This matter definitely has something to do with the Kang clan of the Conquer Star. Looks like we have no choice but to set off now, Jun Xiaoyaro said as he shook his head. He once again suppressed the signs of a breakthrough. Of course, this was not a bad thing. The deeper the accumulation, the fiercer the breakthrough. Furthermore, Jun Xiaoyaro vaguely felt that if he could find the desolate ancient temple, it would be even more helpful to his breakthrough. Furthermore, his sacred body of the ancients might also undergo a great transformation. Thinking of this, Jun Xiaoyaro no longer hesitated and directly came out of seclusion. The moment Jun Xiaoyaro came out of seclusion, Yi Yu and the others had already sensed his fluctuations. One by one, they all arrived. Yi Yu, Yu Chanhuan, Tai Yin Jade Hair, Yang Rumeng, Xia Bingyun, and Feng Shuran were all here. Master! Son of God! Everyone cupped their fists at Jun Xiaoyaro. I'm going deeper into the ancient final road. What do you all plan to do? Jun Xiaoyaro asked. With his strength, it was naturally no problem for him to lead this group of people. Yang Rumeng first took a deep look at Jun Xiaoyaro, then sighed and said, I think I'd better go alone. I feel like I'm enjoying the scenery when I'm by your side. Hearing this, everyone felt the same way. Jun Xiaoyaro gave them a great sense of security. They didn't have to worry about any danger when they were by his side. One word, steady. Yang Rumeng was also a little greedy for this sense of security, and she didn't really want to leave Jun Xiaoyao's side. However, if she stayed by Jun Xiaoyao's side, she wouldn't be able to gain any experience at all, and the ancient final road would be useless. Yang Rumeng had already awakened the Skydream butterfly bloodline. She needed more experience. Jun Xiaoyaro nodded and said, sure, as you wish. Seeing Jun Xiaoyao's calm appearance, Yang Rumeng didn't know why, but she felt a little angry. Why wasn't he even a little reluctant to let her go? Yi Yu said, Master, I also want to go alone. Now that the knot in his heart had been untied, and Yi Yu's strength had increased dramatically, he was even more confident. Yu Chanhuan said, I want to stay in the boat of destiny and cultivate. She was also embarrassed to stay by Jun Xiaoyao's side. Tai Yin Jade Hair said, I want to follow Master and help Master stroke me every day. No, I want to stroke Master every day. No, I want to be stroked by Master every day. She wasn't interested in the ancient final road. As long as she could be stroked by Jun Xiaoyaro every day and eat carrots, she would be happy enough. Xia Bingyun said considerately, I still have to manage the boat of destiny. I won't be a burden to Master. In the end, only Tai Yin Jade Hair stayed by Jun Xiaoyao's side like a pet. The others all had their own matters to attend to. Everyone, will meet again at the end of the ancient final road. Jun Xiaoyaro bade farewell and left the boat of destiny with his hands behind his back. Yang Rumeng, Yu Chanhuan, Xia Bingyun, and one of the 4 forbidden Dao children, Yu Bishuan, all stared at Jun Xiaoyao's back until he completely disappeared. Mph, he doesn't even have the slightest bit of reluctance. Yang Rumeng stomped her foot. She seemed dissatisfied, but there was reluctance in her eyes. Xia Bingyun said, Master still has important matters to attend to. How can we be a burden to him? The girls were all reluctant to part. Yi Yu sighed as he watched from the side. Master's strength wasn't just in cultivation. The ancient road of destiny was endless. For some prodigies, stepping on this road was equivalent to taking a step into the Yellow Springs. If they weren't careful, they might fall into the Yellow Springs. But for a small number of forbidden Dao children, this ancient ultimate road was nothing more than a fleeting view of the scenery. They could also trample a group of ants under their feet. For Jun Xiaoyaro, the meaning of the ancient road of destiny was walking around casually, slapping faces casually, killing people casually. That was all. Jun Xiaoyaro set off from the chaotic astral ocean again. He steered the starry sky flying ship and continued forward. Along the way, He also encountered some teleportation formations. He directly teleported forward to save time. In the blink of an eye, another half a year passed. In this half a year, Jun Xiaoyao also encountered various situations, but they were all resolved by him. Finally, Jun Xiaoyao arrived at the 70th level of the ancient Road of Destiny. In this level, in addition to a huge ancient city floating in the universe, there were also 2 ancient planets. Conqueror Star. Desolate planets. Jun Xiaoyao stood on the deck of the starry sky flying ship, and the Taiyin jade hair squatted on his shoulder. Jun Xiaoyao looked at the 2 planets in the distance, but his brows were tightly furrowed. Because he sensed it. The energy fields of these 2 stars were completely different. They were as different as heaven and earth. The planet that was faintly shrouded in purple energy was rich and full of spirit qi. All kinds of natural Tao laws and divine chains of order intertwined, looking extremely prosperous. The other planet was like a desert. There was no spirit qi at all, and it was extremely barren like a desert. The 2 ancient planets were like a rich family and a beggar on the street. There was no comparison at all. If Jun Xiaoyao guessed correctly, the prosperous planet shrouded in purple energy should be the Conqueror Star. And the desert-like planet that was close to a dead planet was the Desolate Star. This made Jun Xiaoyao's eyes very cold, and at the same time, he was puzzled. What exactly had happened to cause such an unforeseen event? Just as Jun Xiaoyao was thinking, the system's mechanical voice sounded in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host, the new check-in location has been refreshed. Please sign in at the Desolate Ancient Temple. For a better reading experience, please visit the mobile version of the website, Book 5975. Chapter 686. A new check-in location? Jun Xiaoyao was not surprised. He was also very curious about what good things he could get in the sacred palace of the ancients. Let's go to that ancient city first and find out what's going on. After Jun Xiaoyao made up his mind, he rushed toward the huge ancient city floating in the universe. The ancient city was very magnificent. It was located in the starry sky of the universe. It was simple and grand, exuding a desolate aura. It was the ancient city of the 70th level of the ancient road. At first glance, it looked like a wild giant lying in the galaxy. Jun Xiaoyao came to the ancient city. He attracted a lot of attention before he even entered the city. Who is that person? He's covered in celestial light and has an extraordinary aura. A genius exclaimed. Oh my God, why does he look like the rumored son of God of the Jun family? What? The son of God of the Jun family is here? He has the sacred body of the ancients. Is he here for? With Jun Xiaoyao's arrival, the ancient city was in an uproar. There was a lot of noise in the ancient city. Countless eyes looked at Jun Xiaoyao, who stepped into the city gate. Their eyes were filled with surprise, curiosity, fear, and other emotions. Some people even thought of the Conqueror Star and the Desolate Star. They guessed that the son of God of the Jun family was here for something else. In the ancient city, the roads were wide. There were not many cultivators, but there were still a lot of them. In fact, it was very difficult to make it to the 70th level of the ancient road. Other than the natives of the ancient road, the cultivators who could make it here were all elites. Even so, as proud and arrogant as they were, they couldn't help but feel a sense of inferiority when they saw Jun Xiaoyao's transcendent figure. Jun Xiaoyao and them seemed to be in a different world. Sir, they are all looking at us, the Taiyin jade hair said, blinking her big eyes. She had turned into a human. Her silver hair fell to her waist. Her big eyes were as clear and bright as rubies, and her small face was delicate. The 2 fluffy snow-white rabbit ears on her head drooped down, which made her look even cuter. Jun Xiaoyao smiled and said nothing. Suddenly, he stopped and looked at the void in front of him. A middle-aged man in golden armor with a powerful aura suddenly appeared. It's the Enforcer. Many Sky Prides exclaimed in surprise before cupping their fists respectfully. The enforcers of the ancient road of the ultimate path were the ones who maintained the order of the ancient road. At the very least, their cultivation bases were at the supremacy level. It could be said that without their existence, the ancient road would be even more chaotic. Countless geniuses would be assassinated and oppressed. They were in charge of maintaining order on the ancient road, preventing those experts from attacking the younger generation. Because of this, their statuses were quite high, and the chosen of the ancient road treated them with great respect. This middle-aged man in golden armor was called Tuoba Jean. When he had nothing to do, he would stay in one of the cities on the 70 stages of the ancient road. At this moment, when he saw Jun Xiaoyaro, Tuoba Jean's eyes flashed with excitement and intimacy. He descended from the sky and arrived in front of Jun Xiaoyaro. He cupped his hands and said, "Tuoba Jean greets the Son of God." The surrounding sky prides were taken aback by his attitude. Jun Xiaoyao's status was so high that even the enforcers of the ancient road had to treat him with caution. But there was no need to be so respectful, right? After all, supremacy experts were all proud of their status. Not to mention the others, even Jun Xiaoyaro himself was a bit confused. His status was high, but the enforcers of the ancient road were also supremacy experts. It was enough for them to treat him as an equal. But now, he could clearly feel the warmth and reverence in Tuoba Jean's expression. However, that reverence didn't seem to be all for Jun Xiaoyaro. As if sensing the confusion in Jun Xiaoyao's eyes, Tuoba Jean cupped his fists and smiled. "Son of God, you might not know this, but long ago, I was fortunate enough to receive some guidance from the sixth patriarch of the Jun family, Jun Taixian. You could say that without the sixth patriarch's guidance, I would never have become a supremacy." Tuoba Jean's eyes were full of reverence as he spoke. He would never forget that when he was young, he happened to see the corpse of an ancient winged dragon floating in the void, pulling a pitch-black coffin. That was his luck, and also a great opportunity in his life, which changed the trajectory of his life. "Oh, I see." Jun Xiaoyaro came to a realization. He had heard that during the Battle of Immortality, the vast sword light that fell from the sky came from the sixth patriarch of the Jun family, Jun Taixian, who was floating in the endless starry sky. He was a quasi-emperor expert. And this patriarch was very strange. He slept in a pitch-black coffin, pulled by the corpse of a winged dragon, and drifted in the endless universe. He would occasionally wake up, and then go back to sleep. Obviously, Tuoba Jean was a lucky person who had received some guidance from Jun Taixian. That was why he showed such a sense of reverence and intimacy. "Son of God, if you don't mind, let me hold a banquet to welcome you." Tuoba Jean smiled. After receiving guidance from the sixth patriarch, Jun Xiaoyaro, he already regarded himself as half a member of the Jun family. Naturally, he would give special treatment to Jun Xiaoyaro. "Thank you." Jun Xiaoyaro nodded slightly. Since he had such a loyal enforcer, it would be much more convenient for him to do whatever he wanted. Seeing Jun Xiaoyaro being received by Tuoba Jean, many sky prides in the entire ancient city sighed. I guess only the son of God of the Jun family would be treated so respectfully by the enforcer. "Yes, but I'm afraid the Son of God came here with a purpose." "Are you talking about the Overlord?" Many people could not help but tremble at the mention of this name. The Overlord was definitely the most terrifying supreme outlawed sky pride on the ancient road. If there were any physiques that could be compared to the sacred body of the ancients in terms of physical strength and close combat, there were only a few physiques like the tyrant body of the heavens and the chaotic divine body. Among them, the tyrant body of the heavens was the most talked about and was often compared to the sacred body of the ancients. This was because the two physiques were natural opposites. However, in some of the previous battles, the sacred body of the ancients did not have a high chance of winning against the tyrant body of the heavens. It was about 20 to 80. The reason why the sacred body of the ancients had such a low chance of winning was largely due to the restrictions of heaven and earth. The 10 shackles of heaven shackled the sacred body of the ancients, making it extremely difficult to cultivate. In recent times, there was no one who broke the 10 shackles of the complete sacred body of the ancients. This was the reason why the sacred body of the ancients was weak. However, the tyrant body of the heavens did not have such restrictions and could fully unleash one's talents and potential. In the ancient city, many people thought that they would be able to watch a good show. In a luxurious pavilion, Jun Xiaoyaro, the Taiyin jade hair, and Tuoba Jean were sitting around a banquet. The Tai-Yin jade hare was munching on various spiritual fruits and carrots. Jun Xiaoyaro looked at Tuoba Zhon and said, "Senior, you should know that I didn't come to the 70th level just because I was passing by." After hearing Jun Xiaoyao's words, Tuoba Zhon nodded and said, "I understand. It's because of the Kang family of the Conquer Star."